Okay, I'm going to call this meeting on August 16th, 2023 to order at 6:03 p.m. Let us please start with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please stay standing as we consider a very heavy moment of silence for all of the many wonderful individuals who have gone before us. Thank you. All right, roll call please, Carissa.
Okay. Roll call. Trustee Alter.
Here.
Trustee Decker.
He is absent tonight.
Okay. Trustee O'Malley.
Should
He's
be
on his way.
He's on his way. Okay,
Yeah, I
great.
just texted.
Trustee Sauer. Trustee Shutting.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Ryan.
Here?
And Mayor Allen.
I am present. When we rescheduled this from originally the August 9th to August 16th, we did not check with Elena, our village attorney, so she is absent tonight with a conflict. That's my mistake. So she will not be here, but we'll have some other meetings coming up soon. So, first off, we're gonna open things up to Jim Monahan, who's gonna give us an update on the town of Hoosick Rescue Squad.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and the board.
Hello,
Thank
Mr.
you
Monahan.
for letting me speak. I am now the Vice President of the Town of Hoosick Rescue Squad Board, which is not the active membership, it's actually an advisory board that helps them with business practices. I guess that's the best way to put it. I just left a little sheet for you that's kind of an outline of what I wanted to talk about. And I'm going to start with, we had a meeting on July 27th with the Cambridge Valley Rescue Squad because there was a few tensions. The meeting was wonderful. I don't think it could have went better. Cleared a lot of air. I'll kind of make it very simple. This came as an email from the Chief of Operations, Mark Spezio. Happy Friday evening. A huge thank you to everyone for a very productive meeting last night. I left the meeting feeling optimistic, not only that we have created a new baseline, but there is a true desire to make this work. We are fully committed to moving forward with the group's recommendations and are eager to start. We've cut down to 2 3-man boards or committees from each rescue squad. We're going to work together.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
Very positive. Moving forward.
That's great.
I spoke Monday night to the village board, or the town board tonight with you folks, just to bring you up to date what's going on. The struggle in the whole state of New York and maybe in the whole country with EMS is they are not required to be paid for by the towns. Police forces, yes. Fire, yes. EMS, no. There's a different way of approaching it right now. The Town of Hoosick Rescue Squad is solvent. We're moving forward. According to Rensselaer County, we're in better shape than most because we're about 66% volunteer and 33% paid. That's helped us stay solvent. But we're going to have to very much rely on fundraising, donations, insurance claims, and government funding going forward. So I spoke to Mark and the board on Monday night and said we got to come up with a payment plan between you and the county and the state. I feel very strongly that the state has got a lot of options that they're looking at, and I will probably be dead and gone for years before they actually take place. So, I'm not going to depend on that. Paid versus volunteers in the future. As one of the planners, I would be remiss if I didn't plan on a paid rescue squad or a greater percentage of paid members than volunteers right now. That would be a mistake. I think Cambridge right now is 85% paid. Bennington is about the same. They do have some volunteers, but the majority of this has now turned out to be a real business. I think, Dan, you know that. It's business, business, business.
One of the last places where there's still
Right.
volunteers.
And the killer is funding. I mean, if we get a call for an insurance call and it's a normal insurance company, a state worker, a business worker, whatever, we're paid very well. The trouble is most of the calls are Medicaid, Medicare, and they pay about 30 cents on the dollar. The same thing is going on with the hospitals. There was a big bill passed with an increase to the hospitals last week. I do not know. I've been trying to find out if EMS was part of it. I don't have that answer yet. It could be, there could be some help. There probably, and realistically, it probably won't be a lot of help. We're gonna look at a lot of models going forward of different breakdowns and participation in sharing with other rescue squads, sharing with, not only just, the responsibility and the calls, but actually with buying groups and different things that we are going to be forced to really, really work together. And there's always a little bit of tension because, you know, there's a little bit of internal politics, folks, that happen in these things, but, you know, we've spoken to everybody about this. We hope to resolve that.
That's great.
Or at least we hope to go forward in a positive direction. I'm really here to thank you. I'd like to try to keep the village up to date because I don't like surprises and you don't like surprises. So I'm here, I'm willing to answer any questions I can. I'd like permission to come back in the fall when I know a little bit more about our budget and our fundraising and where we stand and keep you on top of that. And I know when you work for the village, you're like a volunteer. So you need to deal with this like a hole in the head, but it's reality.
Well, we appreciate you
Absolutely.
handling this, working with them, trying to put best steps forward, and keeping us in the loop. It's very
Yep.
appreciative, so thank
That's
you.
about all I'm doing, but if you have any questions, any ideas, any thoughts, any out of the box things, give me a call.
Alright,
Jim, I have just a question. Has there been any talk of setting up a independent ambulance district?
We have talked about it. The county has kind of discouraged this, but I don't know why. And to add to that, we were really looking forward to having a budgetary election line like the fire department, like the library.
Right, through a separate.
Correct.
taxing
And
district.
today was Wednesday. I think it was last Thursday, they kind of talked to me and said they didn't really want us to do it that way. We should,
The county?
yeah, we should do a budgetary line in the town budget.
We trust the county?
Now,
Well-
me being me, I haven't figured out is there an ulterior motive there? You know, the only thing I've really been, and I haven't had to talk to this gentleman again, but the only thing I can think of is if we pass, if the public passes a referendum where we get X amount of dollars a year on an individual tax line, that's there forever. It takes another vote to reverse it.
It's also not subject to reductions under pilots.
Right, and I'm wondering now if, maybe they're being smart, maybe there's something they know that we haven't heard that's gonna come down from the state or from the county, and then they can just reverse it in the budget. If you follow what I'm saying, the town budget can have it this year, they don't have to have it next year. And so I'm approaching this very cautiously.
I don't think you're gonna see anything from the state, because my conversations have been that basically this is a local issue and communities need to prioritize where their money is and all this kind of stuff. The ambulance district should, similar sized towns and municipalities that run their own ambulances have districts now, most of them, they have to. Cooksaki, which is about the same size as a village and a town, about the same call volume as you guys do, they're just, to give everybody numbers, a little shock value, they're pulling over 300,000 out of the district in tax revenue to keep one basic life support ambulance on the road 24 hours a day. So,
We're in a lot better shape than that, folks.
yeah.
wow,
So, but that's probably the reality down the road, but I think a tax district is probably.
Yeah, the realistic thing is, you see, we're running right now a 2002, 2003, and 2017 vehicle. We signed a contract to purchase a new vehicle on January 26th because it was $296,000. 3 days ago, it was $338,000. The earliest delivery is October
Yeah.
of 2025, which is not a bad thing. That gives us 24 months to raise
say
funds, which
twenty
we've raised quite a few.
25?
2025.
I've heard some bad lead times, but that is
Yeah.
incredible.
And the town, they didn't question me, but they were like, well, Jim, that's a lot, I said, yeah, I know, but worst comes to worst, we're talking out a long ways,
Yeah.
We'll get that rescue squad, and if we don't exist, we'll sell it to somebody else at $100,000 discount.
Alright.
But just out of curiosity though, why, I mean, from my experience, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be critical, but $300,000 for an ambulance is probably the most expensive ambulance I've ever heard of.
Well, that seems to be the going rate to get what fits in there. I've
Yeah.
looked at a several, like 188,000, 2008, 2011s in the city of Pittsburgh type of things. And I got very discouraged, cause just a monthly maintenance is probably gonna be $2,000, which in my opinion, hopefully is going to be not as much as a regular payment.
You can sell them used, yeah.
I got one in my driveway.
Yeah.
Can use the ambulance.
3,000 cash on the barrel.
Well, we'll definitely, Dan, welcome your input, because here's one of my biggest fears, is that the day that gets delivered and gets paid for, we're gonna need another one.
So, one option, I'll just say this to you, we
Yeah.
would have to talk privately, but some of these places do get, this particular ambulance I bought was a 12, but it's got a well-made box on the back, so for about 70,000, you can, if I find another one, if you're interested, you can re-chassis it for about 70,000, and then you basically have a brand new ambulance. This thing has everything's aluminum in the back, so there's no, the only thing that's corroded is the chassis portion that you.
What Dan means is you want an aluminum box, you don't want a wooden box.
That's why this one's aluminum. They just got so much, this particular place I bought it from has more money than they know what to do with, so they don't care, where other places would have re-chassis that 3 times. So it's possible if I find one that can be re-chassis for 60,000, I'll let you know.
Alright, like I said, I've always been a bit neat. I mean, I relied on the people that understood the trucking business and the ambulance business, and the cost is both ways, to actually have it built. And then we're kind of, unfortunately, because of the way our building is built, and Dan, you might know this better than I do, but we're kind of restricted to Fords because of the height of our doors. A lot of boxes go up, but we don't have the room right
Well,
now,
it's Ford's almost out of the ambulance business, so they've curtailed
so.
a lot.
Alright.
Anything else?
Anything else, guys?
No, I got a call the other day from a company in Baldwinsville, New York.
Yeah.
Are they doing billing for the rescue squad, someone in that area?
Could be, Kevin, not that I'm aware of, but.
She called and said that they needed my information from MVP for my rescue squad trip. They need a copy of that.
I'll look into it, I have no idea about that. I mean,
So
for
it's
all
not-
I know, the box for this 24-month vehicle could be made in Baldwinsville, but I don't have that answer.
They were just asking questions about my bill, and I already had sent the check, so I was kind of, it was kind of an odd question.
Well, they- yeah.
I'll forward you the email.
Yeah, well, you can call me.
Or send it for it, I'll give you.
Alright,
Anything else?
that's it.
I will try to keep you guys right up to date. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Toots.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Have a
you.
good vacation.
Jim, quick question,
You
last
too.
question.
Yeah.
Is it town Hoosick's operating authority only within the town? It doesn't go into like Petersburg and parts of Pittstown?
We
all that?
cover them, I don't know if we have a certificate of need for them or not.
I just wonder because if you set up an ambulance district,
Well,
And
that
your-
was
and
one
your
of the
district
issues with
goes-
the county, is that they were hoping to come up with some kind of plan that would cover all the small towns, because Petersburg, Grafton, Steventown are all in much more dire straits than the town of Hoosick. But they didn't wanna do for one and not do for the other, so you run into this.
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense, I can see
Yeah,
that.
you run into this constant, I call it slogging through the swamps, It's not like walking across a field, it's
Yes.
everything takes time and effort,
Yep.
so.
Alright,
Call me,
Thank
or
you for all you
text
do.
me, or yell at me, whatever it takes.
Thank you.
alright, I got a slew of informational updates, some are just verbatim printed, some I have screen support on, but it's reflective of the billions of things that seemingly are on our radar right now. The first one is a landfill leachate update. This was actually something we were hoping to move on at the regularly scheduled August 9th meeting, and when this got postponed, we didn't realize at the time that Lobella, who was doing the work, was already set to go and mobilized on August 10th. But basically we have 2 pumps that pump out of the leachate and head stuff down into the wastewater treatment plant. they're having some operational issues with the pumps. They figured out it has to do with some grit that's getting in the system. So they came up with a plan to install some screens temporarily and permanently to stop that. And I reached out to the board via email ahead of August 9th to get permission for them to sign this work to move forward on it. We went through the budget stuff related to the landfill and that was okay. And I just wanted to say that this work is going, it's in process right now. And later in the agenda, and if you guys are okay with it right now, I'd just like to do it. I have on page 3 a motion to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement between the Village of Labella and Sterling Environmental to authorize work on the landfill leachate pumps estimated to cost between $15,000 and $20,000. And this would be retroactive to August 9th, 2023 when we had to get them the official go-ahead. So would someone like to make that motion for me, just so we can get that done? Deb, thank you.
Second.
And thank you, Bobby. And again, we were stuck because if we waited another week, they would have put off the work for 3, maybe 4 weeks, and I know DEC has been wanting us to get this done, so. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed or abstentions? Carries. So that work is underway and that's good, and that was an easy one. This is kind of a bigger update because there's a lot of information I wanted to pass on to the board and to the public. OU2 is what DEC refers to as Operable Unit 2. That's related to the new water source and the work that's being done at McCaffrey Street. Now first off, literally just today, DEC put out a fact sheet regarding some of the work that's being done. But yesterday I actually got my second round of updates from Sasha Yazik, who is the head of the project at Honeywell, who's been working with our folks in DEC and their consultants on this. And I'm gonna give you those updates as well, but if you wanna see the fact sheet, I just grabbed a couple screenshots of the fact sheet, and the fact sheet is gonna lay out in very hard to read detail a lot of the same stuff that I'm just gonna walk you through as well, but this just talks about how this relates back to the McCaffrey Street being a Superfund site, and the requirements to go after Operable Unit 2, OU2, for the new water source, and this talks about the riverbank work, and I'm gonna go into that a little bit more right now, but this is available online and DEC, if you're on the DEC email list, you'll get this too. So there's three kind of things I wanna talk about, but just to put this in perspective, the first piece of this is the bank stabilization work. Now this is part of the riverbank that's right near the lacrosse site, which is where the new well field will be. And this bank required about, I put the wrong feet there, it's 3,700 feet, not 7, I don't know what number that is, that doesn't make any sense. That's a misprint. It's about 3,700 feet of stabilization. This work was required design, reviewed by the village and our consultants, reviewed and approved by DEC and permitting from the Army Corps of Engineers. They got all of this working, and they've been working on it right now. If you've been driving by and seeing that kind of path back there, that's what's going on right now. They have to have the in the river work done by September 30th, and then the work on land should be fully completed by October 30th. Now I had met with Sasha back at in April, and he had explained their path to this was a 60% design by mid-May, 100% design by mid-June, the request for proposals go out, the pre-screening done, and be in the field in mid-August, which is exactly where they are right now. And the most recent update was that they are on schedule and everything is going to be finished on time. So that first piece, the bank stabilization, is what is in the fact sheet that just came out from DEC. The second big piece is, the second big piece is the well development and the property purchase. Now, when this had first started, the goal was to have 2 wells done, one at the lacrosse field and one at the Wysocki site. Since that time, with DEC's review and permission, they shifted to developing a second well on the lacrosse site. Everything right now is going extremely well with that. Quantity, quality, volume of the new wells is all looking like it's exactly like it's supposed to be. Should be able to produce 800 gallons a minute for each of the wells, which is matching what we currently have right now between well 3 and well 7. The companies are working with the owner of the La Crosse property, and they are looking to close in mid-fall, and there's no time delay thus far. So the original plan is now just, has been modified to just be on the La Crosse property, and the 2 wells are going to be there. So, yeah,
Someone approached me the other day that owns property along Route 22 and pretty much surrounds the aquifer. And he had concerns that he was talking with the engineers and they're doing tests and they said they drew down 80,000 gallons of water and it dropped the aquifer down 6 feet.
they were on a call yesterday, Jim and Josh were on a call with Sterling Environmental that talked about, that was the 72-hour test. And they, I think I have the notes on that. But what they had found was that 72-hour of straight pumping, which is not at all what we would be doing on a normal run, but it drew down between 3 and 5 feet was what they had found. Let me see if I can find those notes. Oh, it was 7,300 feet, not 3,700 feet, okay. Well, that was one I got on the call, but I didn't write down. But that 72-hour, where just turn it on and let it run, that's what was the 3 to 5 feet drawdown is what they had found. Close to 6 feet. But that's not gonna be how things normally operate.
Well, how many gallons do we use per day?
400,000?
Yeah.
And they were running it full at both wells, 800 gallons a minute for 72 consecutive hours, which is a much more massive drawdown than anything we're gonna use.
Now, there's a public hearing coming up, correct, with the working group pretty soon about.
I think so. That may be next week when I'm on vacation.
I'll try to steer him to that, cause he has a lot of concerns about the drawdown of the aquifer and possibly
Sure.
taking water from the
From the-
22 corridor and drying up people's wells that have shallow wells.
Okay, I know they're pretty cognizant of that concern, and I think based on all of their readings and experts, they're not concerned about that as a possible thing, but it's still very good to have them go there and talk about that. And I can pass that concern up the chain to the DEC, just to say, hey, someone's concerned about drawdown. But that 72-hour pump test is not what the normal draw is going to be.
Yeah, cause a lot of his property depends on having water.
Yep. Yep, no, understood.
I did the math on that, what are we, 400,000 gallons a day?
Yeah.
That 800 gallons a minute is 1.15 million a day.
A
So
day.
that's- Yeah, it's like
And that was a 3-day test.
almost 3 times the normal usage, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge.
So it's a very massive thing, and I know the aquifer is the aquifer under the influence of the river, but yeah, I can pass it up to Shane.
Yeah, I guess the other thing was drawing the PFOA from the lower end up to where the pumping being taking place.
Yeah, and that's actually part of the Sentinel well plan that they're gonna have to do while this new water source is to monitor to see if things are being pulled towards the new wells.
So what happens with that? Then?
I mean, they don't expect it to be a thing, but I don't know. I don't know. Most people in that area probably would either have access to filtration already, or should that happen, I think that would be a discussion with the companies. It's another good question to bring
Wouldn't
up.
they already have filtration systems?
Not if you're using it for
Depends.
a commercial use, if you're like watering trees or
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, like Alhannon's right there, and
Right.
there's also, all their trees are there. But thus far, there's been very little hits in that area, if any, on PFOA, but that is I'll write that down and follow up on.
is there anybody from the state I can give his number to?
Yeah, Ian Bilby.
Cause he talked to somebody and he thought the guy was pretty rude to him about it. He said, are you an engineer? Cause they came onto his property and asked for access to his and he said, well, can you tell me more about the hydrology and stuff like that? And he said, I'm not a hydrologist, I'm just an engineer, whatever, civil engineer, whatever he was.
That probably wasn't Ian, cause Ian would know about all that stuff. So yeah, I'll get you Ian Bilby's contact, he's kind of the lead on all that. Alright, the third and final piece, which is probably the most important, is the overall project that will get us to a new water source. Now, just as a reminder, the overall project is 2 new wells, piped up Route 22, then run under the river, but it's not going near the bridge or under the bridge or across the bridge or anything like that. Then it's gonna be piped right into our water treatment plant into existing lines. Well 7 will remain as a backup, while 3 and 6 will no longer be operational, and the Sentinel observation well field, which is what I was talking about with Kevin before, will be designed and run and tested on a regular basis and monitored by DEC and the companies. Now on my April update with Sasha, this was kind of their overall hope for a plan for this whole thing, a 30% design by June 2023. And then there'd be comments from DEC, revisions, further comments by DEC in the village. They would take that back and work on the 90% design by the end of October 2023, and that would include all of the specs for everything involved. And again, another comment period from DEC and the village's environmental engineers. And then by the end of 2023, that would give them 100% design for the project. That's ideal because you ideally want to be bidding out large projects in winter time. So they will be able to bid out their projects in either late 2023 or early 2024 and use that time to get the bids back in, get the contracts up going on, and then we're looking at they would begin construction, summer and fall they would complete all the construction, and ideally by the end of 2024 we are hooked up to our new water source. Now that was the plan in April. After my 8/15 update, it is exactly the same. They are either on target or a little bit ahead on things. They are going to hit the 60% design by mid-October. They've hit all the goals they've had. They've even had compliments from some state and federal officials who do permitting. Like, I'm surprised you guys are already talking to us about permits, but that's how far they're thinking ahead, and it's been great to hear that.
So the companies are doing this work, correct, not the state?
Correct. The companies are doing it, required by the state, overseen by the state, and because of our May agreement with the companies, we are an active voice, and the money that is paying for that active voice with our legal fees and Sterling Environmental is covered by the company through that escrow account. So that was a lot of information, but I thought that was really important to get out there because everything continues to move forward. Alright, a couple other things. Number 3, I wanted to just make it known to everyone that the village is intending to purchase or acquire, however we're going to do it, the former Oak Mitsui First Street site. It was something that we had been targeting for the New York Forward Act, or the New York Forward Grant application. We have been talking about it internally, and we have had some good communications with their folks, which is actually both Oak Mitsui and Honeywell. They're kind of sharing the ownership of that property, although it's primarily Oak Mitsui. We had spoken about trying to get whatever we could in time for the New York Forward Grant application, and we have gotten confirmation that we will have a letter of intent from them by the time we need to get our application in. And that letter of intent will be with the hopes of the village acquiring it. It will have been, this will all be reviewed by the attorneys. The village doesn't wanna have to do any upkeep, any environmental upkeep based on the closure, and they don't want the village to have to do any of that. So that's all going to be worked into this plan. But I just wanna make sure that was out there so everyone understood that. Number 4, veterans banners are looking to be set up in the village. The village is teaming up with Kevin Miller, who is, I think, the head of the Rensselaer County Division of Veteran Affairs.
Yes.
We're looking to work towards getting veteran banners hung within the village. This was something that we had talked about a year and a half ago, and there had been a scout who had approached me with the hope of making this one of their projects. That didn't materialize, so it kind of fell off to the wayside, so I'm ecstatic to know that Kevin and the county are taking this on, and trustee Bobby Decker is running full speed with them to get this going, so we will do what we can to facilitate this and get the word out, and we're already seeing the word out and starting to get things happening.
Just, I think I brought this up in an email, that Troy has them, they're leaving them up year round.
Yeah.
And they're not lasting more than 2 years.
Interesting.
I mean, it's gonna be a lot more maintenance for our village, and I'm not against it, but I just hope we know that there's gonna be work involved for, if we have to take them down every year.
Okay. I know that the village of Nassau did them a couple years ago because my father-in-law and some of his brothers are on that. I know Greenwich has them. I think they also do them year round. Troy's have been up for a long time,
Yeah, they look faded.
but they
Yeah,
do
a
look
lot
faded.
of them are fading.
And they are gonna do that, that's just
I
gonna be
know,
part of
but
the
then
deal.
it looks
But
yellow.
I mean, if someone's gonna pay $200, they should be aware that they might have to do it again in
That makes
2 more
sense,
years.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
with the lifespan of them are.
Alright, we'll bring that up to Bobby and to Kevin.
That and I mean, downtown we change flags, Christmas decorations,
Mm-hmm,
and a lot of towns use their other poles, not their downtown poles, but their ones on whatever, you know, the standard poles.
And aren't there, on John Street, already banners on the poles right now, flags of like the Everly Brothers and right like that?
Yeah, that was a historical society.
Yeah.
Right, so,
And they're pretty low, because if you drive by them, they're, you can reach out and touch them.
mm-hmm.
Can't go any higher,
Huh? Yeah.
can't go any higher with them.
With, in those locations,
Our poles are only 14 feet high.
that
they're
makes
not like
sense.
your normal light poles, right, they're decorative ones, so, right.
Can you go fix that right now?
Should.
Great, okay.
You get
Just something to keep in
see them
mind.
get poles.
No, that's good, I mean, those are the details we need as we're going through this, so that's awesome. Number 5, we had talked about this and we finally got some information together on this. Back in I wanna say 2013, 14 and maybe even 15, the village worked with Monolith Solar to get some solar panels up. Those are the ones on the municipal building with that weird little demo spot next to the municipal building, which everyone hates. And it also has some on the water treatment plant, there's some at the wastewater treatment plant, so that array, and then the big array on the landfill. Some people that asked, and we've discussed this, we're like, I don't understand how any of this works, so we're digging, we're getting it. There's 2 different ways that these work, and I'm gonna start with the municipal building, the water treatment plant, and wastewater treatment plant ones. What happens is if a building needs to draw, we'll just say 100 kilowatts of energy, those solar panels exist before the meter. So if the building needs 100 and those produce 10, the building is only gonna draw 90 from the energy grid. So we'll be charged 90, basically in a sense. We're not gonna be charged 100 and then discounted 10. All of this happens kind of behind the meter. So that's how those 3 locations work. The array at the landfill is a different setup, and that's what I'm digging more into. That is one where we can see how much solar energy is being produced, and I'm trying to figure out why we're still paying for energy that we're producing. It doesn't make sense, so I have to review the Monolith contract that the village had with Monolith back in 2014 or 15 and talk through more of that with Elena. But people had been asking, and I wanted to pass it on, and I'm also trying to see if we can take that demo spot next to the municipal building down, because I've never
it's
heard,
ugly,
I've never heard a positive thing about it, so.
I don't think there is one.
Can they move it somewhere else, down the waterworks or somewhere, and make it useful somewhere else?
I mean, it would make a lot of sense to move it down to the waterworks, because there's a lot of open space there.
There's no trees.
Yeah, I'll bring that up. This is just an update, because we have been working on it in the past. We did, Delaware Engineering did get the grant applications for our water infrastructure improvements. This is 2 different grant programs, the SRF, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, and the WIA route. But that is all in ahead of the deadline, so now we are waiting to see if and what we get awarded from one or both of these programs, and what we get awarded will drive our decisions on what of the work, if any, we do. Okay. Number 7, the Murphy Building Senior Center got a little bit of attention this past week. So I don't really have much more to say than what I have on the agenda. All correspondences regarding the situation are available for review at the meeting here in this binder, and remain available on the village website, including the inspection report on the building that Rensselaer County leadership continues to misrepresent in social media posts. Apart from any information that the county has been posting on their social media page, the village has no further information or updates on the Murphy building. The county has signaled via social media that they hope to reopen the downstairs as soon as next week, but that remains their decision. Any questions regarding the condition and a reopening of the downstairs should be directed to Rensselaer County. And finally, the county has stated that they are now focused on bringing a state-of-the-art facility to the newly purchased former Dollar Tree in the town of Hoosick. I don't really have anything else to say about that, but if you want to review the record, all of our glorious letters back and forth,
Thanks, Rob.
they're right there.
I still think it's a bad decision by the county. It hurts our village more than the county recognizes. It hurts our seniors that walk. It hurts our downtown businesses that rely on a lot of that traffic. If you go on a Wednesday during DMV, there's cars all over the place. You have people going to that office for heat that possibly don't walk. Mental health services where people might not have cars. And you're forcing them to either walk 22 or get a ride out to Route 22, so it's not the right thing for the village of Hoosick Falls. And many people, and I think a majority of people in the village are against this, and it's a shame it's happened.
That has been a great summary of all of the things that I have heard from people. I've heard most people being frustrated at the decision and the process. I've heard from probably about 4 or 5 different business owners, either directly or indirectly, the exact concern you mentioned, and a lot of walkability concerns as well. So I understand, I hear you.
For sure, the walkability is a huge issue because when we did the inspection, we also spoke with probation and both mental health, and they both expressed to us that the higher percentage are adolescents or people who don't drive and are walk-ins to their appointments.
Yeah.
And the county has provided no transportation since COVID, and from what I understand, they're gonna come up with a plan, but they have yet to come up with a plan. You would think they have a plan before you move forward, but to take care of these, what's gonna happen in the interim, we'll see.
Yeah. So, and I do have one quick thing to add to the agenda, which I forgot to put on. DEC did release the draft Speedies permits. This is a permit that is specific to the wastewater treatment plants. There's a public comment period that is open. It's ending in mid-September. We have Dave Engel and Mark Millspaw reviewing it at this time. This is really important for us because we have a project to add UV filtration that has been literally waiting for this permit to come for almost a year now.
10 years, we could say.
The project is designed, it's ready to go out for bid, we can't put it out for bid until we have the Speedies permit. We're still several months away because the public comment period has to end, then they have to review them, then they have to make their decisions, but should anybody want to read some glorious stuff about the Speedies permit, I have it in this folder, just pass it down and pass it out there. It is a glorious read, but all those files are available on the website. So, that was a ton of updates, but I thought they were all important to have on the record. At this point, we're gonna turn over to you and open the people to be heard section. Just as a reminder, we record our meetings via audio and post them onto YouTube. And just to get an idea of how many people would like to speak to address the board. 1, 2, 3, are you guys together or separate?
I have a separate one, he has a couple.
Alright, we'll set a 4-minute time limit. Who would like to go first? And just as a reminder to say your name and street address. You guys wanna start? Do you wanna start? Alright,
Okay,
go for it.
hey, Harold Stevens, Wilder Avenue.
Hello, Harold.
Hey, how are you? One that I've been after for 3 years now is snow removal. Forcing people to shovel their sidewalks. I've got a list of area communities that have such laws.
That would be great to see. Thank you.
I think one of the best ones is Cambridge, where they don't have the residents don't do it themselves, and the village of Cambridge does it.
Well, some of the village gets done by
Yeah.
the village here, but some doesn't.
In Cambridge, is that how it works? But they do part of the village.
No,
In Cambridge-
that's here, they do part of the village, but they don't do it all at Hoosick Falls.
Alright, this is good for review. I know we have talked about it, we looked into it legally back when Andy was village attorney. we got stuck with some of the requirements and legalities of who does and doesn't have the responsibility, how to manage that, who enforces that, and of course, we also discussed at length the amounts of equipment and personnel would take to do everything or half, and that was kind of always our holdup, but we're always welcome to have new
Well,
information.
just to have the people go out and take care of their own piece of property.
Yeah, but how do you enforce it?
Well, you'll have suggestions in that printout they have.
That's great.
announced.
Pass
Yeah,
that down, please.
You know, if some of these laws, if you don't go do it, and, you know, it becomes Ken's job, but he can go back and force these people
Do a fine.
to pay, and then fine
Ticket or
them.
fine or something of that nature.
Not only fine them, and then fine them plus
When I
charge them for
review,
the hours.
when I review those, that's what I'm gonna be interested to see how they manage and handle that. And who, is it DPW, is it police, is it code, is it kind of all,
Well,
so,
those are-
I think it's kind of a mixture of everybody with some of these laws.
alright,
Okay, another one, cats. Okay, I printed out a copy of the law in the village of Greenwich pertaining to animal control
oh, thank you,
and in particular, cats.
okay,
If that's something that you want, you know, would be interested in following. I'm kinda getting tired of going out every morning and finding that the cats have used my flower bed because the people in back of me have a dozen of them and don't wanna take care of them.
20 cats behind us.
I actually lived in an apartment
No,
that
it's a single
had
family.
like
Single
8 or 9
family,
cats
but
just
we've
chilling out,
watched
fed by
three
someone, and it was,
generations of
smelled
cats now being born
awful.
back there. My dog keeps them out of the backyard.
We found one on Ball Street across the street from us.
Yeah, cats has definitely been a thing, especially in the past couple of years, so thank you.
It's been a thing for about the last 20 years.
But in
But-
more in particular, the past couple of years.
Now, Bobby, you're still
And the
volunteering
worst
to
thing is
take the
there's
cats
so
in.
much help.
I'd be glad to
for
take
getting
cats.
spading and
Uh-uh.
everything
Don't
else.
let Bobby near the cats.
When we came down tonight,
Leash law.
the house next door to us, the folks are only come up on weekends now to live in the house, you know, to be in the house. But there was a cat curled up on their front lawn, or not
On the
lawn, but on
porch.
their front porch.
And
Well,
they
we
got
know
rid
it
of
came
their
from the
porch.
house in back of us,
Yep.
and of course, Tony's always yelling of the smell
Yep.
because of the cat there.
Alright, thank you for those. Anything else, Harold?
No, that's it for me.
Alright, thank you. Marion, would you like to go
Quick
next?
one, I was gonna, Marion Stevens, Wildwood Avenue, same as Harold's, I was gonna ask if anything was gonna be done on Lower Wilder Avenue for the road condition there, it's really rough shape going up that hill.
Repaving it.
Our
You
top
started
part
right.
looks great, but the bottom is really horrible.
Can
So
you start that already?
I patched it the other day, I'm struggling to get blacktop with the various projects going on between here and Vermont. I have to order my blacktop days in advance, and then I'm at the mercy of what they're making, and then we're at the mercy of the weather, we can't blacktop in the rain, it doesn't work. So I did go up there actually this weekend and saw there was some pretty big holes, so I patched them first thing Monday morning with a cold patch. I mean, it's the best I can do right now. My intention was to fix that part of the hill. Like I said, I'm at the mercy of, you know,
Okay,
the
just so
blacktop
we
plan.
didn't know,
Yeah, right there in front of Moore's, there's a couple of good sized potholes.
Yep, I patched them Monday morning. Someone has been going around painting circles around all the potholes in the village, so whoever that is, thank you, they're helping me.
I guess thank you, I don't
I
know.
don't know who it is, but,
Well, yeah,
Well, I
thank you,
can
but
see
they
a
can
lady
stop
doing that one
anytime.
day.
Yeah, thank you, please
yeah,
stay.
so.
Okay,
So I did, like I said, I'm at the mercy of
it
the
was just
blacktop.
concerned because we're concerned going up the hill in the winter and things like that,
Yeah.
and
Oh, it'll definitely be done before the wedding, so.
we thank you, we just didn't know.
anything else, Marion?
And quick question, who reports your meetings here and what newspaper, because I'm never finding your meeting notes anymore in the newspaper.
Right now, our official paper of record is the Eastwick Press. But we have an organizational meeting that we've been postponing, and at that organizational meeting, we typically decide who is going to be our paper of record. So we've already kind of had some discussions about switching back to the Eagle, which we had done in the past. especially because the Eagle is present and Eastwick is not. And there have just been some
Used to be at all these
changes with the
meetings.
Eastwick right now, so it is what it is. That being said, you can always reach out to the clerk's office and ask
Well,
for
I knew you
minutes.
were having a change
Yep,
of secretary, like we didn't find the agenda on the
that was my
website.
mistake, I didn't get it up there in time
But
today.
you know, if you could give me your name and
Yeah,
the
oh, absolutely.
email address, because
Same
I
email
have
address
some
that Marie had, so it's still
Oh.
clerk@HF Village, but yes. Alright, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Alright,
So 11 Main Street, so is the feedback on proposed law A still open?
proposed
Tell us which one that
law,
was.
which one are we talking about?
Village Code of the Village of Hoosick Falls, a local law establishing a vacant and abandoned building registry.
No.
That was done last meeting and adopted last meeting.
Oh, but you did a special thing for that and you moved it, the meeting.
No, we had that was noticed for the last regular meeting and we did do it.
Mhm.
Sorry about that. I mean, you're still welcome to say what you do or don't like about it, cause there's nothing stopping us from making revisions or additions, should we feel like there's something off.
Okay, so basically it's the definition of vacant. So the law, as I read it, it doesn't take into account an unoccupied building that is unoccupied for say 30 days because somebody is a part-time resident or they're out of town, or a well-maintained with no code violation building that just has no occupants for a particular period of time, or is actively being marketed. And that's my reading of the proposed law A. And what I did was,
Oh shoot.
I googled it, and it looks like proposed law A came from a New York State template. So this is the New York State template. And I highlighted the section that refers to the New York State law that accounts for vacant property. Sure. So it's the template is set up with a sample law and then notes in the sides. So I highlighted the relevant section. Now law C actually, proposed law C, which I assume you guys adopted already.
We also did, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That actually has a more specific definition of vacant that allows for unoccupied and in good shape and well maintained. Should not be a violation. In for one, in for all. There we go.
I have both of those up here off of our website. These are the proposed laws, but nothing technically changed in them, so.
So the template references section 1309, which I believe is the New York State rule. I highlighted the sections in there, which basically accounts specifically for, I don't have that. Specifically for unoccupied and well maintained to be excluded from the definition of vacant.
So to summarize, your concern regarding the local law we just adopted about the vacant and abandoned building registry is that
If you go
you.
away for 31 days,
Yeah.
you must register or pay fines.
We talked about that.
Isn't it up to the discretion of the building inspector though?
And that's fine, but we should account for the fact that future people may not be as intelligent or well-meaning as current people. Because the law as written says that you have to do that. And by the fact that you passed a law that says that that is included by omission, particularly from a template that had it already, and then you passed a second law in C or whatever it was, that specifically eliminated well-maintained and unoccupied.
Yeah, but if
It
somebody wants,
implies that you intended it to specifically cover people who left for 31 days.
yeah, but
Well, that's not that legal analysis doesn't make sense. You can have a term that is defined specifically for this law to be specific to that situation.
Yep.
And the same term can be applied for this law, that's why they define terms in law, so
Right,
that,
but if you
that
pass
crossover analysis isn't gonna hold up legally.
okay. To me, I mean, I think it's a valid argument that you specifically accounted in one law for a scenario that you specifically included from another law, which would mean that it was intentional. Are you saying it was accidental to exclude that?
I'm not,
Yeah, but
they were,
if somebody's going away for 30 days, it's not a property that's not being maintained. Or if they're going away for 30 days, you should maintain the property, mow the lawn, shovel the snow.
Right, so let's say that, so for example, I don't even maintain my own properties, I have somebody else maintain the property, so going away for 30 days and having it unoccupied doesn't mean that it's not maintained.
right,
And what I'm suggesting is that the law as written would penalize somebody who leaves for 30 days and lets their maintenance people properly take care of their fully code valid inspected property while they're not.
So are
And I
you,
don't think that's what you guys
are
intended.
you talking about evidence of vacancy? Under the local law A, it says a building shall be deemed a vacant building if no person is conducting a permitted or allowed use or lawfully resides in any part of the building? That's the local law law says.
you lawfully reside here.
So, if we're talking about a scenario here where we have a tenant building and we have someone move out and it goes more than 30 days without someone residing there, it's or, okay? Conducting a permitted or allowed use. Having an apartment that's well maintained and waiting for a new tenant to move in is a permitted or allowed use.
So, given that the mayor has challenged my law degree from absolutely nowhere, and that the
I don't think
and
we're
that-
gonna, listen, we're not in the business of doing credentials tonight, okay?
Right.
Okay,
And that and since the village attorney is unable to be here today, I would just draw your attention to the template, right, which has notes in the side. And it says in the annotations that, New York State annotated 1309-2A-2B includes the definition of abandoned residential property, and it also includes the definition of what is not to be presumed to be abandoned. And then I included 1309, I highlighted the definitions for not abandoned. And since this is probably the template that the law came from, and it mentions that in the annotation, and it refers to the other law to specifically include it, and you didn't specifically include it, my feedback from the open public return that I missed is that I feel that it should be amended to specifically say that as you could have done from the template.
I mean, I will certainly run it past Elena, I think,
Certainly.
right? But, also, I just wanna speak to the intent of this law. We have, as you've seen around the village,
I'm fully on board with the intent of the law.
a lot of buildings that have been left in disrepair, okay? And we just had an auction, and there was quite a few of them that people, I mean, you walk past Church Street over here, you have the Weebay building, you have the one across from the youth center that was left in total disrepair with a leaking roof. This is what we're trying to prevent. I don't think anyone is gonna be sitting there with a stopwatch watching to see if someone walks in for 30 days. And also, I would say that it's permitted or allowed use or lawfully reside, so it doesn't have to be both.
I'm just asking that you run it by the lawyer, because
we definitely will.
I believe the
Definitely
filter
will.
was just written a little bit too large. That's all.
Okay, yeah, we will certainly bring that up, and Dan's one of the trustees who's on the local
Yeah, I'll
law
run it
committee
past
who
him.
reviews that and designs it, and even right now, I think we're looking at revising, which one are we looking to?
The junk car law to allow the police more discretion to deal
Yes.
with the problem, yeah.
So, yeah, we will certainly do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alright, in that case, it's off the screen and back over here, and we will move on. Alright, reports and minutes, we're gonna start with the police reports. We don't have duplicate copies, so I'm gonna actually put the police report up on the screen tonight for people to see, my apologies on that. So Chief, take it away.
Well, last month there was 410 calls for service. The police department here responded to 391. The sheriff's office responded to 10, and the state police responded to 9. We were assisted by the sheriff's department 10 times, by the New York State Police 11 times, and we assisted outside the village 18 times. There's mileage on the cars. I don't know if you want me to go through all that.
I have that up
Yeah.
here, so
Okay.
we can talk about that
The
in a
total
moment.
calls for service this year has been 2,199.
I have 2170, I gotta figure out what the discrepancy is, but that may be me with trying to remember which calls are the ones we respond to, so I'll get that little tweak number.
We had 5 arrests this week. So far this year, we have 73 arrests. Last year at this time, we had 45.
73 is up right now.
Is that because we have more crime, or is that because the cops are out there more?
I think they're out there a little more, I don't know why. I've only been here 6 weeks, and
Oh, you should have all the answers.
we have a pretty good crew. We got a pretty good crew out there, I gotta admit.
I can honestly say that I've seen many more traffic stops in the last 6 weeks than I have in the last 6 months.
I could say from a guy who lives on High Street
Exactly. So,
that there's been a lot of activity.
it's fantastic.
Yep.
And it is great because they, you know, we were just talking about this before the meeting, you get this meow.
Yeah.
Think of Weiler Avenue too, and Central Street Mall, they go,
Right down the hill from us,
I mean,
probably 9 out of 10 cars don't even stop for the stop signs.
we've had a couple people come to us and say, hey, check this road out, and they have responded to that. I know, River Street, River Road, both, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I do have the mileage up, chief,
Okay, very good.
Get protein.
and just, we didn't have the June mileage, so I just lumped them together, so this month is, this column here is representative of two.
Yeah,
503 still in the shop. And 505 is going in to get an alignment.
Okay. We've already been through calls, and then the other stuff.
Oh, we participated in the meeting in Hoosick Falls Central School, met the superintendent, several of our officers took a walkthrough, and we spoke to the deputy there, the community service officer, and he has a pretty good plan of things going on at the school.
Yeah.
I took a ride up to Cambridge, and I talked to the chief there, and I said, if anything happens, we're gonna need your help, and it's gonna be like a mutual aid. So if they have a lockdown, we're gonna go to that, and if we have lockdowns, they're gonna come down and take a walk through with us. So I think that'll benefit us both.
That's fantastic. Anything that gets us thinking across those arbitrary county lines, because we're just right next door, even though we're at separate corners of our county, that's awesome, awesome.
listeners don't get double the calls, what was there was a time that they had a whole rank of schools get calls and with threats, and that's really rough.
Trustees, you have any other questions for the chief? Chief, can you just explain a little bit about the possible police vehicles, used vehicles that you were looking at into?
Okay, so obviously our miles are high with these police vehicles, and a couple of them are permanently out of service. I went to Upstate Auto, they have, I think, a dozen vehicles from the state police in Pennsylvania. And all the mileage is high, it's 150,000 plus. However, the vehicles look like they're in very good shape. Not only that, but they were like $12,000 a piece, we might be able to get them down a little bit. Since they were in the state police, it's mostly highway stuff, and they have a regular maintenance schedule. So I think that's why they're in that decent shape. I spoke to Gordon at Barber and Fricky, and he said, if you wanna bring a couple down, we can check them out and see if they're any good. So, I'm gonna try to make plans to do that at some point, because we're gonna be walking the beat pretty soon.
Tim, what's the cost of a new cruiser on state county back?
It's like $56,000.
And you're saying these are about 12?
Yeah, but it's mileage.
40,000 buys a lot of repairs. You can put 6 new engines in for that price.
Yeah,
I mean, really, you know,
Yeah.
what year are they? Are they just a few years old?
yeah, they're like 2014s, 2015s.
They've just been left turned,
Yeah.
down the highway, left turn.
Pretty much, yeah.
Chief, one of the things we've been looking to discuss, but we wanted to really pull the trigger on is ARPA fund usage, and we do have some funds left. So those are the same funds that we used when we did the weapon purchases. So we are looking from you to get quotes on one or two of the vehicles for us to consider.
Okay.
Can you update them on evidence?
The evidence
The-
rooms,
not necessarily the evidence room, we had talked about getting the Beast evidence software, but
Oh, yeah.
Rensselaer County is considering,
Rensselaer County is going to a new CAD system, that's a computer aided dispatch. Included in that system is an evidence system where you can log and keep track of evidence better. It's free. The Beast is the other evidence software we're looking at, which is used in some local jurisdictions, but it costs money. So if we support Rensselaer County, I'm sure we can get their software for free, and it would go around all our agencies around here. So we would be sharing intel, and also sharing, what evidence we're taking in and things like that.
So the state cops and the county guys would all know, everybody had the same information?
Well, I know North Greenwich is on board, Rensselaer City is on board. They both sent letters into the sheriff's department. And they're gonna be going January 1st anyway. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go get the Beast. So it just makes sense to
So
wait
what
a
are they
couple months.
looking from us, what do they need from us, Tim, other than just a letter of
Just
intent?
a letter that says, hey, we support your new CAD system.
what's Troy doing? I mean, I know they're kind of their own entity.
Yeah, they are, they have the Beast,
They do, okay,
yeah.
so
and
they're
they
not needing to change, cause they kinda do their own thing.
Right, and they just went to SJS in January,
Okay,
so I think it's a good system.
so you said North Greenbush is on board,
Rensselaer City,
Rensselaer's on board, obviously the sheriff's department will be on
Yes.
board. What other county, smaller police forces are there?
North Greenbush, Nassau.
North Greenbush,
yeah, North Greenwich.
Nassau.
I mean, Village of Nassau,
Skodak,
Skodak, right, yeah.
alright. So I guess what we're looking for is, if your recommendation is let's wait and see how the new system works versus let's go after the B system, we're game for whatever, is that kinda what you guys are thinking?
Well, we're talking, you
I like
just,
free.
What's that? I like free
Yeah.
and working and being more connected to other local jurisdictions, I think that makes sense.
Tim, does this just, when you log something in,
Seems like
it
we got nothing to
attaches to
lose.
the call
Yeah.
ticket? So that if you look up a certain call, it will give you not only the information of where the call was and who called and everything, but also the evidence garnered during that.
It will do that.
So it's all attached to one big document, if you will.
And if you're looking for somebody, they'll have an updated address in another jurisdiction, we'll be able to find them.
Tim, if somebody, say, is robbed of something, and the person's caught and adjudicated, do they get that property back? Or should they get it back eventually?
It depends what the property is. You can't give drugs back.
I'm
If a gun is used in a crime, you're not getting the gun back.
no, if somebody was robbed of $50, would they get that money back?
Well, I mean, and we
From
have the
the,
$50
you had it,
bill.
and you had it in the evidence room?
Yeah, of course they would get it back. We just have to, at the property report, it says turn back over to the owner.
Well, if somebody brought it up to my attention, they said that they had something stolen and they never got the property back.
But did they claim, there's also, depends on the value of it and if they put a claim in against their homeowner's insurance. Cause I know because I had a gun stolen from my vehicle, got broken in front of my house, they stole my rangefinder, my binoculars, my gun, my shotgun. The insurance company, they paid me for what I lost but my gun is, I can buy it back, the insurance company, if I went down to claim that at the police station, I would have to pay the insurance company the value of the gun.
That's up to you as the person, it has nothing to do with the village, we would give it back to you, you're the one responsible.
No,
I-
right,
Defrauding the
I just
insurance.
wondered whether automatically, once that case is over, that the person would get their, whatever they had stolen back, that's
yeah, I
the
don't,
question.
They should.
Well, if you didn't file insurance claim, right?
Yeah,
right, if it's yours,
they should
right.
follow up with the police department.
I can't remember who it was that asked, someone downtown this week just asked. They weren't looking for a kilo of cocaine.
So, yeah, so
It
chief,
was a six-pack of candy.
it sounds like we're probably more likely to wait on the county evidence software than spend money now and annually on Beast, but
Is the county software a long time till it comes, or is it ready to rock?
It's gonna go in January, so it's only a couple of months away.
We've been waiting this long, a few months isn't gonna hurt us.
Looks like we have nothing to lose.
No.
It's free.
I mean,
We've got a lot to gain.
And you have the advantage tying it all together into one centralized system.
Yep.
Yep.
And-
So I'm assuming if there's a crime somewhere else involving individual A, and you look into the system, you can see that possibly the 12 gauge he had over here,
Is
there
it
was also a
evidence?
12 gauge shell found at XYZ crime scene, and kinda use it to link things together. Part of the idea. Theoretically.
Alright. The other quote we're looking for is if we're going to do further infrastructure in the basement for lockup. I know we had talked about the need for, I think, toilet bars and probably a live feed that is upstairs. So if we're looking to decide in the next couple weeks or maybe at the September regular meeting, ARPA funds, these are quotes we would like to have in hand.
Okay.
Does that sound good for you guys?
Yep.
Any other questions for Chief?
What about the cameras? We talked about body cams versus
Oh, yeah.
car cams.
I put a grant in for body cameras, I put a grant in for license plate readers, and I put a grant in for AEDs.
Okay.
Which is those.
Right, for the defib, okay.
So, I'm just looking for one for police cars, but there's not many out there.
So, Tim, it seems to be popping up a lot lately, are these paper plates from Vermont that people have, seem perpetual on people's car,
The temporary ones?
Yeah,
Temporary.
30-day plate.
30-day plates, would a reader read those?
You know what, I don't know.
I got one of those when I
I'll
bought my
have to
van in
find
Vermont.
Yeah, me too. In
I'll call the
transit.
girl tomorrow.
Yeah. Good question.
It just seems like a lot of them in the village these days. And some I found in the parking lots as well.
Down in the lower John, there's a bunch of paper.
Everywhere.
So do we
Yeah.
have, sorry, one more question as it relates to Vermont tags, since there's a lot of them around, people that are living here. For example, there's one in the lower John Classic Street parking lot by the river. Vermont tags, no Vermont inspection, in Vermont, as I understand it, you put like a lot of states, you put the registration dates on the license plate, it's that little square that goes in the
Little
top.
sticker.
That goes on the plate itself, there's none of that. Do we have any authority to deal with that, or is that like a Vermont issue?
Is it an abandoned vehicle,
I don't know.
That's our authority.
non-inspected?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we don't know, that's why we
We
wanna
don't
find
know,
out.
I don't know.
Well,
It's just peculiar, there's only one plate, there's no Vermont inspection, registration sticker, nothing, just a plate.
Vermont, we
This
have
has
to have
been a
one plate.
reoccurring issue and
Oh,
we've
that's
kind of generally heard
But
that
still,
it's
there's no other stickers.
one of those things lost in the bureaucratic confusion of being right across the state, but we'd love to get a straight answer on that.
we could run the plate and then check the VIN number compared to the VIN number on the car.
So if you run the plate and it comes back as properly inspected, then it is what it is.
Yeah, but if we run the plate and it comes back a different VIN, well, let's switch plates. So we confiscate the plate and tow the car.
Okay,
Good.
alright.
Yeah, I think the New York State law is if you move into New York State, you have 30 days to,
Change your registration,
Yep.
that's the law is.
Yep.
Right, and we know, I know there's some people who live around the corner from me that they've been there for 4 or 5 years driving the same vehicle with the same Vermont plates on it. and
Well, sometimes what they do is they
Get it posted.
Sure.
register it to the
P.O.
grandmother
box,
or.
P.O. box in
P.O.
Vermont,
box.
Cheaper.
Vermont, you
Yeah.
can register it at a P.O. box.
I guess if you have taken.
Yeah, and if you have,
Oh, that's that then,
your
isn't it?
property owner in Vermont, or if you have a mailing address.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Anything else for us? Looking for a motion to approve the police report.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bobby. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Alright,
Did you get the
Thank
new
you very
police-
much,
Did you
Chief.
get the new guns?
It's over.
Not yet, but the update on that is,
Oh.
they ordered guns with night sights on them, tritium sights. And it usually costs another $140 a piece, but, they're gonna take that cost off.
yeah, that wasn't part of the deal, but
That was, yeah.
it happened, so they're gonna eat the cost and we're gonna get those, so,
Oh, nice.
Nice work.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, next report, code enforcement report. Mark is not able to be here, he had a previous commitment at the Bennington battlefield, I think. So I will tell you two specific updates that I wanna give to you guys, regarding the code report. The first one, and these are addressing questions and concerns, 18 John Street, which is owned by Daniel, at the last board meeting in July, thank you, I'm like, what month are we in right now? We did our normal approach of declaring that an unsafe structure based on local law, I think it's 1 of 2008, based on the code enforcement report, based on the engineer's assessment. So we did that already, and part of that resolution was setting a public hearing. We all missed the fact that we had set a public hearing for that. So I talked to Elena and I talked to Mark, and I added on the agenda near the end, looking to to reschedule the public hearing related to the unsafe structure at 18 John Street to our special meeting date, which we're looking to do in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August 30th. And following all of the procedures that we had done for the 3 or 4 previous unsafe structures that we've had for various reasons, that's what we're gonna do. Mark will notice it to the owner tomorrow and put it on site like he had done in the past, and that will give them the time to do that. So that's the update on following through on that.
So it'll be torn down on August 31st?
Well, just because we had a similar situation in that similar spot with the same owner, what ended up happening in the record is he came to the public hearing and asked for extra time to organize the, tearing down the building. And we said, that's fine, we are also going to do our due diligence because we have to put it out for bid, review the bids, then we have to decide as a board which one we're going to move forward with, then we have to get all the air monitoring needs, so that's like multiple months. So in that situation, we decided that's fine if you wanna organize it, we're gonna do our organization anyway, and if you end up saying, I've got it all figured out, and he does it, then that's fine, we can back away. But in case that falls through, we're prepared and ready to go. And that's the procedures we used last time for this and a couple other properties.
Right, we just don't want him delaying us.
Right.
No, he's not
He
gonna,
didn't pay for the last one, I don't expect him to pay for this one, so.
But we're gonna follow all of our procedures properly like we have in the past and according to local law, and that's what we wanna make sure we do. But yes, your point is well made. And that's what the record bears out, so.
Speaking of that property, there is a car adjacent to it, owned by the same owner, that has been there for years, that needs to be removed pursuant to our junk car law before the, what do you call it, the walkthrough, whatever, for the forward grant. The reason I say that.
Oh, yes.
The reason I say that is when we did the walkthrough, they pointed to the car and they pointed to the building and they wanted to know what the village was doing about it. I fudged around some stuff, maybe embellished a few things.
You can't fudge.
Maybe
It's
embellished a
at
few
least
things.
actually.
And said, oh, we're working, blah, blah, blah. There's no gonna be no fudging or embellishing a year later when that car is still sitting there. We have a local law, let's get the letter out, give him his 7 days and get the car out of there.
So the last building we tore down, we actually picked the car up with our bucket loader, brought it down here, set it down, tore the building down, then brought it back.
Yeah,
Same car.
and actually,
Same car.
all of that stuff,
We put it there.
all of that stuff was part of the discussion, it was something that the owner and I think the attorney had to advocate for, and one of the concerns that came up was the steel. But now because we have another local law that specifies that type of material, we now have a different sort of ability to act on it.
All
So,
we need to do is get the letter
Get
out
it out of
according to the
Mhm.
law. Then if it goes back undeliverable, we put the sticker on the windshield of the door and he gets so many, whatever, it's 3 days or whatever, and then it's a call to Phil and.
Yep.
so who has to generate the letter? Elena?
Mark and Elena have to do this, and it's kinda like, it's the first run based on the new local law, so they just wanna make sure it's right. But Dan has already offered to help draft that letter, so take that bull by the
Okay.
horn, CC Elena and Mark, give it a starting point,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
That's all I know,
great.
so we got direction.
I don't know, what's the half-life of steel there? I mean, eventually it kind of rusts into the ground.
Yeah.
And Rob, so are we gonna make a motion, do we wanna do the motion to do the public hearing on the
If
30th?
you guys wanna jump right now, and I will take a motion
we're
to.
there.
It'll be two things, first will be a motion to schedule a special meeting for Wednesday, August 30th, here at 6 p.m. and Elena is available for that, so would someone like to make that motion for the special meeting? Alright, thank you Doug,
Second,
and thank you Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye, opposed or abstentions? Carries. With that in mind, motion to reschedule the public hearing related to the unsafe structure at 18 John Street to Wednesday, August 30th at 6 p.m. at the Village Highway Garage. Looking for that motion as well.
Motion?
Alright, thank you Bobby. Need a second? A lot of people, we'll give it to Doug. Further discussion, just let the record show this is specific to the unsafe structure decision from the July 2023 meeting pertaining to local law 1 of 2008, and we're just rescheduling the public hearing to make sure we do our due diligence.
Perfect.
By the way, I've been riding around town,
Well, hold on, before you do that, let's vote on it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed or abstentions? Okay, that also carries unanimously, sorry Kevin, go for
I
it.
sent a list of how many, at least partially, how many junk cars there are in the village.
Yes,
And we, not just junk cars, but blight in many areas of the village, that we got so much code enforcement piled up, some of these properties are just unbelievable, and it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere.
so
Even
in,
though we do have laws on the book from before, we're just, seems like we're spinning our wheels talking about our laws, but not.
and that brings me to the next thing I was gonna update you, and I'm only gonna talk generically about this, cause there's a lot that has to happen. We've talked about 59 Classic Street, there have been notices, there have been bench warrants, they just recently got re-sent letters that demand required inspections. But we're at the point now with some situations like this one, maybe a couple other ones where we are gonna have to sit down with the chief, with Mark, with Elena, and all get on the same page, because some of these cases, like this one and another one we keep talking about, has multiple layers of frustration and trickiness, and we're just all gonna have to get on the same page. So you are 100% right on this, and that's something that Mark communicated to me on the phone today,
I mean,
we have to
there's one
move on
street
this.
in the village that's just an embarrassment,
And that's another, I think I know what you're talking about, and that's another one that has a bunch of levels that we all have to be on the same page for, so.
it's not just one place, there's multiple places.
Mhm. Point well made,
You gotta start somewhere, so.
yeah.
Well, that's why we got,
Let's
that's why we
start.
got the laws now, so
Exactly.
we have the teeth,
Yep.
so we can do it.
And now it's about when things push back or when things don't progress as per the law, making sure we have the routines.
Dan, weren't we talking about
set.
amending the law so that the police chief or the police can actually issue
The,
those?
well, the law, what I talked to Elaine about was the law specifically mentions procedures, and it says the building inspector, sending a letter. And then at the end, it says that basically the police department and the building inspector have equal enforcement, but really what should probably happen is, it's a light.
It's the AC.
Nah, it's the AC.
Oh, it's the AC?
And
It's
then
the
that
front for
one's
the
gonna do
concert.
it next.
Really what should happen is, I think, we're just gonna take a look at it, and it should be probably revised at the end to say that the police department can basically red tag the car, get the 72 hours. Does that, I mean, that would work for you guys, right, to just,
Yep,
Because at this rate, we'll never catch up for,
the cars will melt into the
I
ground.
mean, Mark's working on those two properties almost full-time right now.
yep,
Those two properties alone, and then
yep,
and it's been, in some cases, 2 years on both of them.
Right.
and sometimes the problems or the situations change, which forces us to kinda have to sometimes start over, which screws up the process
Which
further,
has
so.
happened with one of them, we know that.
Yeah.
And another idea was to hire a attorney for code issues.
That may be,
I mean,
We should be getting some revenue rings, so,
yeah,
something new.
Alright, I'll circle back with that and Chief, we're gonna try to set up a meeting in the next couple of days with Mark and Elena to talk through this. Alright, anything else for the code enforcement report?
I will just add,
Sure.
97 Classic Street, under other vacant properties, is now a Fannie Mae property.
It's now what?
Fannie Mae owns it,
Oh. Okay.
right
It's
next to her
97
name.
Classic.
Huh? It was a McGovern property.
Yeah,
It was the
McGovern.
for
Okay.
6 years.
And you're part of Classic?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're right next to it.
I will pass that on to Mark.
I told Mark that a couple months ago, but.
Okay.
Oh,
Alright. Unless you guys have anything else, looking for a motion to approve the code enforcement report?
Oh, one more question, did,
Sure.
well, Mark's not here, but do you know if he ordered was gonna order glass for the front of that building on Church Street?
I don't think so, but I will certainly ask.
We got a quote from one company, and I was gonna get another one from a place in Troy, which I haven't been at work, so I haven't been down there to talk
Kenny-
to them.
Do you know what they're talking about?
The old Elm Street Cafe.
$2,500 was the estimate,
Woo!
cause I just looked at it today.
Alright, did you
No,
forward
where
that,
the rebate, where the rebate sign was.
did you forward that to Mark? Does Mark have that?
Mark has it,
Okay.
he gave it to me.
Oh, okay. Alright. Okay. Looking for motion to approve the code enforcement report? Thank you, Deb, need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Alright, treasurer reports. Unless there's anything jumping out at you guys?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bobby. You're on fire, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Clerk, deputy clerk, report. Clarissa, Judy, anything you guys wanna highlight?
we're working on the, August,
Everyone's
Water,
favorite,
yeah.
August water bill.
yeah,
Yep.
invoicing,
Oh, yay.
yeah, I know.
Yep.
Wait for it to come.
Along with the usual other.
Yep.
Handicap permits, birth certificates,
Yep.
the usual.
I told Denise that most days I'm sitting in my shop and I can sit and fold.
Okay, we'll be sure to let you know.
I mean, I might as well get some exercise, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not like she's gonna keep an eye on the dog, doesn't do anything.
You.
Alright,
I was gonna
before
leave
Deb
this for you,
kills
but
Kenny,
forget it.
looking for a motion to approve the deputy clerk report.
Motion?
Thank you, Bobby.
Second?
Thank you, Deb. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Highway department report. Bobby, anything you wanna highlight?
No, actually, it's been kinda quiet, hasn't it, Kenny?
Very quiet.
Why do you even say
Question-
those things?
Question, Kenny,
More
that
possible.
I asked you yesterday about, sidewalk on Main Street.
I reached out to Pat, I left him 2 messages. It's bad,
No response.
no response. I'll reach out to him again tomorrow, see what we can do. I don't see why we can't move those barrels, we can take the barrels down. I mean, they are ugly, those.
Yeah, it's not, with the barrels, people are mowing around them and the weeds are growing up
Yeah.
around them and
Yeah,
stuff, so.
we can move the barrels. I mean, that was Pat's suggestion, we leave the barrels, but
Mhm.
Pat's not answering me, so we'll just move the barrels.
If you move them, could you weed whack the weeds that are?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Okay.
By the way, I just like commend the village, the summer helping all the employees about the weed whacking they've done downtown.
Mm-hmm.
It may seem like a little thing, but it means a lot as far as aesthetics of our community. And it looks, they did a super job, so they should be commended for that.
Yeah, the park looks great all the time.
Parking's
It
beautiful
really does.
every day,
Mike,
every day.
Mike, the post office doesn't weed whack their property, and Mike weed whacked in front of the post office, so even that was a major improvement.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, a couple times this summer, we try to get out and get the sidewalks and we wreck all the cracks. I know a lot of the homeowners, especially like on High Street, they don't take care of their sidewalks and stuff, so.
What happens when that?
Difference is when they're weed whacking,
I'm good.
they can keep walking on.
I mean, just even the cracks in the sidewalk, you know, where the grass grows up and
It is noticeable,
makes it look a lot better.
Have you guys seen the Jackson Street Park recently? I drove by it and it is beautiful. Like, you guys have just done such great work.
Yeah.
And you guys were helpful in moving around the municipal office. which mostly happened while you guys were on vacation, which worked out even better for you. Clarissa's like dealing with all this crazy stuff, doing great.
She just sat back in the corner and smiled.
Yeah,
Thank you, yeah.
it was entertaining.
There you go. Alright, looking for a motion to approve the highway department report?
Motion.
Thank you.
I was gonna,
Nick.
but he insulted my dog, so I'm not gonna.
Don't insult your dog. I
Need a
just said you
second?
didn't do anything.
Second.
Thank you, Bobby. All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Sewer report.
Hey, I
That's
just
what
wanna
you know,
say-
that's my favorite kind of pet, is the one that doesn't move.
I just wanna say to Kevin's point, it's not just a little thing, I think having the weeds whacked down there, it is it's the
It
image of
is.
it's the image of the village.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, perception is everything.
And Kevin has been so important in pushing that culture change. Even Main Street, where we had to put up the fencing, it looks fantastic now. But we still need to take care of that bank, and I wanna talk about maybe getting a tree down.
That bank's been done for 2 weeks.
But
Cleaned everything up.
I just mean behind the bank, like where all the properties that we just got, behind
Yeah,
Miss
it's all-
Olivia's.
It's all done.
It looks nice, but I wanna, that one tree we may wanna take that down.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big thing.
That's out of my expertise.
Out of your jurisdiction.
Yeah, my dad's a logger, I can have him come in and do it.
There you go. Alright, anything you
Kevin's
wanna know in
stump guy.
sewer report?
No, it's just, that's been quiet too, thank God.
Yep. And there are numbers so far for the fiscal year. Right on track. Right where we normally are. Did we ever
Yeah.
change the per gallon? We did not. That may be something we wanna consider.
Increase the rate.
We'd consider increasing it, maybe even just a couple cents.
I think anything more than a couple cents is gonna drive people, you know, cause 90% of our business comes out of Vermont.
Yeah,
And it's, you know, for another 5 cents a gallon, they're just gonna go to Bennington.
yeah.
So, I mean, if we go up too much with it, you know, I think we'll lose a lot of business, and that's a pretty big revenue for us.
It is, and maybe with
Lot
just a
of
couple cents, but I know we haven't changed that since before I got here.
We haven't changed it since I've been with the village in 20 years, so.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why it's such a good revenue.
Do you know if like the Bennington area has two, Kenny, or not? Have they changed their
I
rates, do
don't
you
know
know?
if they have, I know they charge, I think we're at 5 cents a gallon, something like that, or I go by $50 a thousand, I think that they might be $80 a thousand. Bennington, I don't know if they've gone up since then, I haven't looked into it.
Okay.
Unless you guys have any other questions, looking for motion to approve the sewer report?
Motion.
Bobby, thank you.
Who do such things
Second.
have so much value?
Thank you, Doug.
Should've-
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Carries. And the water reports. I will say that, we did, they're looking into some of the additional water, sold. And we are gonna have a couple more coming, so we'll have that updated next month. Big one in particular, so that's good. Any questions on that? Looking for a motion to approve the water report?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Deb. I have, no, the update isn't there yet. I have an update coming about the GAC building and the balance tank, but we're still waiting to get the official details on that. It's kind of been our long frustration over there, so that's coming later. Alright, all in favor of approval for the water report? Aye.
Aye.
Was that, Doug?
That
or-
was Dan and
Dan,
Deb.
okay, thank you. Couldn't hear you.
Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries. Minutes, back to this. We have minutes for, the July 12th regular meeting, which were brilliantly typed up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clarissa.
Thank you.
You guys have communicated things you want to see in the minutes, done differently, and Clarissa hit an absolute home run with it, so. The only thing I wanted to note is that, I wanted to say respectfully submitted by
Yes,
Clarissa Mango, so
I
that's
did
the
add
only
that.
change I have for it. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the July 12th regular meeting minutes as, that one amendments.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Deb. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Doug. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
I'll abstain. I wasn't here for that meeting.
Okay, Bobby Ryan abstains because he was not present.
Okay.
And the August 7th emergency meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to approve it?
Motion?
Thank you, Bobby.
Second?
Thank you, Deb. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Alright, hearing none, carries. Trustee committee reports, we can just start down with Kevin and work our way through, so Kevin, take it away.
We discussed at one, I think the last meeting about no smoking signs.
Yes.
So I contacted the Capital District Tobacco Coalition, which is funded through, tobacco money, from the tobacco supplement. They'll provide us with signs. She's gonna send me 4 for the interim, but, they'll give us signs with our logo on the signs, with the village logo. And we can put those at our football fields, our baseball fields, and any other village property, the playground, at no cost to the village. We do, or they request that we come up with some kind of a, basic, smoking policy for our town, parks and playgrounds.
I did see those signs that, the text sign.
Kevin, these are the ones you sent earlier today, right?
Right.
But we need to have,
I was thinking, well, she's gonna send me 4 of the ones on the left, this is a tobacco-free park,
these,
yeah.
okay. But we need to have some sort of policy on that, although I feel like I was just, when we were reviewing the cannabis stuff, Elena mentioned, I think it was Elena that mentioned that there's actually already rules on no smoking in public parks.
I don't
That's not
think,
covered under the Clean Air.
you know, I looked at it again, that law, and it said state parks. I don't think it said,
Oh,
just
Wouldn't
because,
hurt.
just because I was discussing it with Jenny about, you know, their possible event, so.
Isn't it something like, isn't it like any public building, public owned property?
Yeah, the Clean Air Act, that's what
I thought it was,
I
thought it
all
was
public
covered.
property.
we'll
I know
have
that-
Elena review it, but if we need to put something together, we do it fast, that's
I
easy.
know that years ago, we got something as the village that our employees couldn't even smoke in a village vehicle. Because it's a publicly owned vehicle.
Interesting.
There's no smoking in a public vehicle,
Well, she-
publicly owned vehicle.
She sent, and I forwarded the email, some generic, smoking laws, or that the village can just, Elena can change and put our village information in. And then if you go to their website, which you have up there on the screen, they have, several communities that, are listed on there, there's links to their laws that they've passed.
Okay.
So since I'm the edge case guy, you're saying vaping is allowed but not using the vaping sign?
What's that?
So I said, since I'm the edge case guy, you're saying vaping is allowed because we're not using the middle sign that says vape free, we're just using the tobacco?
No, we
Well, those, I was talking about temporary signs that they have for us to use. I've run into 2 different people smoking in the park during summer concerts, and I asked both of them to stop. And I said, the guy said, both said, well, I don't see any signs, and I said, you're right, you don't have any signs.
So your point is that if you do the tobacco free, that doesn't address vaping?
Right.
Okay. Well, a policy will address all of it.
Although it's a vape, isn't it the vape in that first photo right there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a vape, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I haven't been
Well,
following.
because that says,
wait,
because you can vape tobacco.
and you
Or
can
nicotine
vape
or whatever.
non-tobacco, right? I've
Right,
not been
that's what I'm
following
saying.
New York laws, but there's an extra image in that second, right?
Yes.
So
I
there's,
wonder what that is.
What could that be?
Mm.
Alright, good stuff, Kevin.
I have no.
That's a great
Anything else,
idea.
Kevin?
No.
All of the events at the parks have been so well attended,
Great,
and
unbelievable.
lots of positives, so thank you. Doug?
Oh, I want a t-shirt.
The T-bones.
I know.
On sale.
A couple things, and looking for some agreement or decisions, with New York Forward Grant, a letter of inquiry is due by Friday, this Friday, so it's optional, but I think it's good for us to put in.
I agree.
And you'll
Yep.
do that.
You know, there's nothing stopping us from just doing a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the, is it a letter of intent?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
thank you. So we have a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the letter of intent for the New York Forward grant application, and that was Doug and Bobby. Further discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Great, thank you, sorry Doug.
The proposal's due on September 29th.
Okay,
So we have 5 weeks or so to get our act together here, and of course, we'll need to plan a board meeting to approve that.
What's the date?
We have the local,
What's the date?
29th.
September 29th. We have our first local planning committee scheduled for August 29th. And the list is getting long. There's been some concern expressed to me about, well, I can say as of right now, there's a lot of interest that much more expanded than we did last time in terms of potential projects and interest expressed. And the planning committee has a good number of those that have a conflict of interest in it. My thought is that we'll have a local planning committee. I think we should have a board-appointed committee of folks without conflicts that can make the final decisions about the allocation of dollars to then recommend it to the board.
do we have to do this before the grant application?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that looks better, checks a box.
Well, the grant application includes what projects we're suggesting and what
Okay.
money, and there's been some concerns about, there's a lot of special interest in this. And so
Okay,
when you have the people around the table doing that, I think this year particularly, it'd be better if we had like a subgroup of the local planning committee or folks that do not have a vested interest in any of the decisions, and they kind of review it and write it off and make
Okay.
Would this be something like you said they looked, on the last time they looked at communities that had like a Chamber of Commerce's and
Yeah.
Chambers of Commerce? Yeah, Chambers of
They had economic development agencies.
Yeah,
Well,
and which we don't really have.
Yeah.
Are you getting to that?
Well,
Okay.
taking care of the first issue, I think at the special meeting, I'd like to propose to be 3 or 4 folks that are participate, recruit them to actually be the final review committee.
okay,
That don't have any fiduciary
It's
connections.
not their property being affected, essentially.
do we have some folks interested in that role?
I haven't approached folks, there are folks involved, Jim Monahan's one of them.
Take all those
So,
extra
he
people
has
from the
a
zoning
vested
board.
interest potentially too.
Well, I mean,
There are folks involved that
okay,
are neutral on that.
Okay.
Candidate, there's several
Okay.
names, I'd have to approach them if the village is okay with it.
Sure.
But he's on so many.
We also will need to schedule a community meeting, we're not gonna redo a survey, we had the survey, but we're gonna have to have, once we have a portfolio of what we're looking at, we're gonna need to hold a meeting for community input on that, whether folks come or not, it's different, that will happen before a board vote to finalize. The project portfolio, potential project portfolio is much more, has a broader scope than we had last time. And there are 4 areas that we have to really strengthen, and I think we already got that. One is we lacked a lot on the green emissions, carbonization, climate change issues. We only had one project, that was the waterfront, and that was kind of weak on how we collected. We've had a couple businesses interested in solar. We have some issue, we have some things to do with the Oak Missouri property, probably the Hall Street property. We could do bio-remedial and water catchment gardens or something simple that kind of catches that. And there's lighting that we can do, so we're packaging that. We also were very weak on housing. We have 2 large projects potentially, including Lower Classic Street, that is gonna be involved, and that brings a lot of leverage money into the project. The Lower Classic.
This is a block that sold, right?
Yep, it got closed last week. And
is
they
he
have money.
interested in joining up with this?
Hmm?
Is
Yep.
he?
Yep, but he's open to, he doesn't need a lot, he'll do 50, like a facade, and maybe energy efficient windows as well.
Yeah,
So we put that in, that becomes a transformational project,
yep,
very much so.
Absolutely.
And a neglected area. So we're talking about that. We also were very weak on public arts and culture. Because it was public, the nonprofits, or even for-profits from Bite or even Civic View are not considered public spaces. So the Oak Missouri property, Honeywell property, can we can build that into some kind of arts and culture, open public space, as well as maybe the hall. The other piece, which is, I think, we have to deal with here, is we gotta hit a higher threshold of public improvement projects on the grant. We need to be like about 50%. And so we really need to work on some quotes on the sidewalks, crosswalks, lighting,
Well, lighting, we're in the,
and maybe
lighting,
even moving the solar off the village hall somewhere.
Yes,
but lighting, we have a contract for
But-
replacing all the LED lighting.
But remember, we're also talking about lighting between the Unihog and the Sandbar.
yeah, there was a discussion.
Additional
had,
lights.
yeah.
And I don't know, is there lighting on Lower Classic? Somebody said that there need to be lighting there.
There is a couple of lights there, but it's not very bright.
It's the old metal poles, aren't they still, that's on the Lower Classic?
Yeah, so that area, cause that's a pretty blighted area when you look through it, some lighting there. But we need to get together and put together some numbers and the plan from the village side. And if there's any village hall improvements that we may be talking about, we need to know that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like what about handicap accessible?
Yeah.
Accessibility.
Yeah, accessibility is
ramp.
gonna be a big theme that we're gonna.
I will say that I actually had a conversation with the chief about changing the layout of what we currently know now as the chief's room, which has that big sort of counter spot. And we have a kind of a plan in place to extend the bathroom in, put off the side that's between the counter and the hallway and make that an actual office for the chief. And the remaining space will be a shared space for things like radios, maybe a coffee maker or somewhat. So that is the plan that will improve the police department on the inside and the public bathrooms, and my eventual hope is that that public bathroom becomes the ladies' side, because then we'll have enough size for 2 full stalls. So that's my hope.
And there may be lighting that the Greenway folks may be talking about along there. So there's a lot we have to put together, I think, from the village for public improvements. We need to get a handle on that before the 29th, before we go to
Absolutely.
the community people. And we come in with that.
I was at the last Greenway meeting, and we talked about
I gotta steal that cord.
I'm good.
putting an entrance up where the village owns on the old Park Street, bring it down to the Greenway. That was another proposal that they talked about.
There's also been an idea thrown around with the Open Suey, creating a walkway, maybe a pave around that 5-acre lot as well, expanding it out there.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a great idea.
But we gotta get the ideas together and start
Mhm.
pricing.
Nice to put.
So, my request is also if the board would allocate $2,000 for Samantha Graves to repackage the proposal. There's not a, we're really repackaging the projects. The rest of it we'll tinker with. We know what we need to do, we know how to connect it, make it more cohesive, and be more comprehensive to the state's goals.
Do we have money in economic development, or no?
I think we took money out of it last time, we only took much more. So I think we had 5,000, and we took out 1,000, so there's probably 4,000 left.
We took 5,000 out.
5.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find when we did the motion, so just bear with me a minute.
Well,
I'll
while
find
you're
that.
doing that, can I talk?
Yeah.
For the Mitsubishi, Open-Suey, what am I saying, the Open-Suey property, I just, for fun, went on some different websites of people who develop stuff like that, brownfields and things like that, and there's a whole lot of really cool stuff that can be done. I mean, there's a whole list, so we should, look at some of those companies and see what they've done, just to have stuff to put in our thing, so it doesn't, it can be more than a skate park, I mean, there's a lot of different things we can do. The other thing I wanted to ask is the senior center, now that it's gonna be sitting there empty. Will that hurt us, or it
Well,
won't
my
be
own
empty by
thought
then?
is it's too premature to talk about that or tell the county we can come in with money. That's my own
Well,
thought.
can we take it by eminent domain?
Do you want it?
No, we don't
I
want that.
Well, no, tear it down and build a multi-story parking,
Well,
I mean, parking's gonna be a part of our.
does not do demolition.
I'm just trying to, I'm thinking out loud, how to, if that could be.
The question's been raised, but I don't know.
We don't know.
I would question, just politically, do we wanna throw that out this early in the process?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just
I don't,
thinking
that's
out
what
loud.
this
I think with the tight window we have,
Yeah, can Steve get, oh, that's the other thing, we might want a county letter of support for it.
Whoops, that's not gonna happen.
Rob, that's all you, it's the mayor.
I'll get right on that, I
Send
hear
him a
they're
video.
responsive on
Send him a
social
video.
media.
Right,
Back
we-
when
we-
we- back when we did this, we had a fair amount of money in the economic development fund back when we did this, so it was like 17,000, but that was before we paid her the full, this was back in October of 22. So the presumption is that we should be able to have 2,000 in there that we can use for this. I think it's just we can just have a motion, I'm just trying to find in a previous meeting, but I haven't been able to find it, how we did it last.
We probably did it in July.
We still had money that Denise keeps talking about, that $20,000 out of the, if not more, in the HUD, on a repayment of the HUD grant, which has been sitting there for, I think, like 15 years.
We have money just sitting around for 15 years.
It's supposed to be used for,
I'm sorry, which money you talking about?
it's the HUD grant that was paid back to the village from homeowners that got their housing fixed up.
Is that small cities, the small cities?
I would think so.
I think so. Back then, there was several
So is that,
$1,000 in there, so.
is that money we could use?
Well, the
Anything
economic
that-
development
we
should
gotta-
be fine.
Wherever we find it,
We can come from economic
Okay.
development, so I think we just, I'm looking for a motion to, pay Samantha Graves up to $2,000 for work on the New York 4 grant application for 2023.
Correct, and we have to get a contract, but we have a model for that already.
Sure. Deb, you wanna make that motion?
I will, I'll make that motion.
Doug, you wanna, or Bob, you wanna second
and
that?
I'll second, sure.
Alright, any further discussion? Beside, holy cow, is our first application beautiful?
And thank you, Doug, for
Yeah.
taking the lead on this too.
Yes.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries, and just note for the record, it will come out of the economic development
Okay.
funds.
Are you getting a real consultant this time from the state, or are they assigning?
I have no clue
Huh.
what they're doing. They've been very responsive, Joe has been very responsive to requests.
That's good.
Because one of the things was whether or not, on Jason's building, he can use New York Forward and New York Restore grants both, and essentially it will be a problem.
Wow.
So we have to work that through as well.
Alright,
Um,
anything else, Doug?
Who I work with around public improvement projects, so we can get something on the books shortly there.
In terms of getting quotes?
Yeah, and just scoping that all out as a package.
Hi Kenny.
Only me.
If we were gonna get quotes, you talking about specific to like the handicap and side,
Yeah, sidewalks, handicap, and any additional lighting that we may need.
oof,
So that would fall under a couple different people, I mean, I would say Caius, but can't get hold of him, so. The lighting, I don't know if you would go through, I use Bradley's, or Hathaway's, either or for the lighting, Jay Bradley or
And Bobby, you were involved in the lighting before, right?
Yeah, well, that's only with this real-term energy, not with any other lighting other than that.
So if you're looking at commercial lighting,
That's
there's
what
a
that's happening.
company in Rensselaer called Sterling that does a lot of.
We've used them at the Sterling Electric, we use them at the water plant.
I don't think it's, we're committing to a company, you need to be able to say,
Just
ten
have-
cost, and we have a,
Sure, give them a quote, give us a quote, sure.
Sure.
and maybe Bradley's might be more
Yep.
inclined to do
I
something for
wouldn't
us.
go with Bradley, they tend to be very busy, but I know we've had a lot of luck with Hathaway.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, as long as somebody can just be like, we're looking to get, 3 light poles, here, here, and here.
And as far as the concrete work, like I said, Pat's usually good, I know he's really busy, he's short-handed, Tracy Moore does a really good job with concrete.
So if we can just get a price,
Yeah, we just need to
Just
say,
get a general idea, yeah,
Just let it
Well,
go,
Tra-
10 crosses around.
Ken Cross, yep.
Do we know exactly what locations we're trying to get the handicap accessible things addressed?
we said throughout the catchment area, so but I don't know.
Okay,
You mean
Anywhere
from a
from,
crosswalks perspective and,
the worst, the bulk of those are from the armory to the library.
Which is-
They're all, almost all of them are bad.
and that's right in our zone of area,
that's-
so.
Oh, the ADA.
I mean, even
Yeah.
the brickwork that the fake brick they put in between the sidewalks, there's a big chunk.
it's just crumbling, yeah.
Big chunk just fell out in front of the farm.
Kenny, would it be hard to put together just a list of what spots you think should be addressed?
No, I can do that.
Can you send that to, Doug? Well, just send to all of us,
And I'll
but,
be glad to contact Shane or Buzz halfway.
alright.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I have a report that, Delaware did for those sidewalks, I'll look that up and see
So,
what's
so
done.
one of you guys reached out to me the other day, I don't know, was it you about the
Yeah,
sidewalks?
I talked to the guy for quite a while, basically, to replace those with the iron ones. We
So
had-
that's what we have now, I purchased a bunch of iron ones last year, well, and that's what we're using now, those fiberglass fake ones, or whatever, they're just crumbling.
The guy told me they have those fiberglass or whatever.
It was like a test thing or something, right, you said?
Yeah, they only have a lifespan, he said, of about 5 to 7 years, which is probably spot on, if you think about when they redid 22.
Right,
they're all
and then
fake.
when we go over them with the snow blower or the snow
That's it.
shovels, it just tears them down, so.
So Kenny, you're talking about the metal plates that you put in, is that the
So
one?
when you go up onto the ramp onto the sidewalk, they're like.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say, the one on the corner of, First by
Yes.
Joe Shaw's,
Yes.
yes, Tracy
That's metal,
Moore.
that's iron. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
Did we do that one?
Tracy did. Yeah.
Tracy Moore did it.
He redid the.
And where is that one again? I'm
Right on the
sorry.
corner of First Street and Elm Street. Literally,
Okay.
if you come up First Street and you go to turn on the Elm, and it's right on the opposite
How
side.
long ago was that?
It's, you go by there now, the cones are still up there, everything's still up.
Two
Okay.
weeks.
It just got done.
Oh, so we could almost use that as an estimate for,
Sure.
Yeah, the guy told me.
So I can tell you exactly how much it cost.
go for it.
It was $4,400 to do that. I can't remember, I think.
Those two sections?
Tracy told me it was 30 yards of concrete. to
That's
do those
not
two
bad
sections.
at all.
I mean, then let's use Tracy
That was
and
what
the
the concrete
list.
cost. Tracy charged them $8,000 for that job,
Okay,
so. That's what
yeah,
the village
please go
did.
through Tracy to use that and we can just recreate that in all these spots, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
I
And
don't
we'll
think,
have to go out to bid anyway from the administrative perspective.
Right,
An idea, yeah.
right,
But the guy was telling me, I guess you can't, or those 88,
Cross out.
88 advisors or something
I
like
don't
that.
know, I don't know.
They're for blind people, I
Yeah.
understand, yes, they feel.
Yeah.
That
Goes
they
up to the
can't,
traction for wheelchairs.
yeah, coming from the perspective of somebody who's married to someone in a wheelchair, a lot of times the wheelchair just gets stuck in those ruts, I know, so quite a nightmare. The ones that are broken, but I guess, I asked the guy, I said, well, can they just be, the old ones be busted out and then put it into new? They gotta be.
Yeah, because I think if I remember correctly, when, you've got the size of it, but then they have like edges on it that the concrete gets poured.
They're like underneath
to
the
hold it-
concrete,
to hold it
hold
in
in place.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
so,
I said,
if you had somebody with a concrete saw, they could probably cut out,
yeah, I mean, we've got
Yeah.
concrete stuff, I mean, and then but they're all the same uniform size, so the steel ones we put back in, it's just gonna, we gotta,
in downtown
like
Troy, they just
epoxy it or something.
in downtown Troy, they just did all of them, which were paid for by the state because they actually paved all the streets. So the state will kick in that money for fixing those crosswalks,
Nice.
and they use plastic type material or fiberglass or something, but a lot of highway guys don't like those because the plows catch the edges and they rip them right up.
Oh,
That's what-
absolutely.
That's
the one-
exactly what the guy told me, and he also told me that I don't know if it was Massachusetts or Vermont, New Hampshire, one of them, you are not allowed to use anything but iron.
Yeah.
Period, because they've done tests in Vermont, New Hampshire, one of the two states, and the failure rate of the plastic ones in
It's
an area
insane.
is, some of them last a year. And they're not as simple as just taking the bolts out and putting a new one in. They-
Yep.
They're not bolted, they're formed into the concrete.
Yeah,
poured into
so
the concrete.
you gotta jackhammer the whole corner out.
Yeah.
Iron only.
Alright,
That's right, should make a law.
Okay, so I'll make some connections, I'll connect with you.
Okay,
And
definitely.
do that. And just one of the reasons why getting the facade and streetscape set important is because we gotta know how much the public improvement is gonna be of that, to know how much money we need to have for private facades.
right,
And that's where a number of requests are now coming in from other building owners and
okay,
wanting to be part of that. We had $475,000 in total there, but we had no idea what would go to facades or what would go to public improvement.
okay,
Okay?
great,
Okay, great, thank you.
thank you, Doug. Dan?
Thanks, Doug.
Done most of my comments on the others, but, just on the local law stuff, word that corner, I mean, my thought was the northwest corner. I'm thinking at it from the perspective if I stand in the middle of the intersection, but then I think your point is probably better, extending and actually lay out the landmarks
Yeah.
towards the river, towards, Lyman Street.
Yeah, well, and lower, the fact is, there's two intersections with John and Church Street. So
Because
if we
they're all
clarify what Lower John is and go from there, we should be fine. But it should be an easy thing, we'll introduce it in the special meeting and set the public hearing for our September regular meeting, so we can pass that if the board chooses.
The other thing we need to do, there's a bunch of stuff, curb cut law. We need to have some kind of law about curb cuts, and we've got some problems, as Kevin pointed out, when people just decide to remove the curb themselves or do whatever they're doing and.
Curbs and the sidewalks.
And so you can't have that stuff
Well,
going on.
We've talked about it before, if the people own the sidewalk, you can't tell them they can't do whatever they wanna do with their sidewalk. And then that's the thing, you know.
Actually, you can, cause it's in the right of way.
But then if they wanna replace the sidewalk, then why should they have to pay 50% to replace the sidewalk?
Well, if they're asking for a curb cut, then they should put back what was there.
Well, I mean,
And there should be driveway specs too, where I'm starting to see it more often as people, especially apartment owners, they're just taking their front yard and using it for a parking lot.
right, I mean, and then,
But they're just parking on the lawn. We should have specifications. If you're gonna use your yard for parking, then you should have a curb cut and some specifications, how close it is to the house, or how, with the setbacks and that kind of thing. Or it should be approved by the village also, if it's too close to a corner and they put the driveway in and they can't see around the cars coming around, then that causes an issue too. So there should be some regulation on.
Yeah, and
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, I'm just saying it's just, you know,
it'd be an interesting
The ownership
question.
of the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Well, it'd be an interesting question for Elena.
Elena,
I was getting Elena. Because sidewalks do have to have some, I'm just thinking from 30,000 feet, there has to be some kind of special carve out for sidewalks, because I put a sidewalk in front of my house, I pay for it, it's not private property really, I can't tell someone to get off my sidewalk. It's a public right of way, right, that I have to maintain. So I just know where I grew up, you're required to maintain the sidewalks, but the city actually, excuse me, owned from the edge of your sidewalk closest to your house to the curb. That was owned by the city, you had to maintain it, but that was actually
I
city
mean,
property.
it brings up the question like the Stevens just had earlier, you know, who is responsible for the sidewalk and who maintains it.
The owner of the property.
Yeah,
But again, it's not, it's
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean?
if you do,
See what I'm
if you
saying?
think about it though, you know, like my property line on my deed defines the area that is wholly within my it's wholly within my sidewalk.
But you
It's
have to
not-
have a sidewalk.
Yeah, I think you do, depending on where you are,
Well,
most places require you to.
are we requiring it?
No,
I
not in the village,
I mean,
no.
for us, we're not
But you
doing
mean,
that.
with you being on Route 22,
That's different, maybe that's also a different circumstance, but I don't think you can go out, I mean, if someone's loitering on your sidewalk, that's one thing, but I don't think you can go out and say, hey, you're not allowed to walk
But
past
see,
my
you
house.
just said loitering on your sidewalk.
Well, I say my sidewalk is in the one in front of my house, I'm
Yeah.
not saying ownership wise, but I don't think I can go out, I can tell someone they're not allowed to walk across my lawn. I don't think I can go out and say, you're not allowed to walk past my
Well, I
house
take
on
that's
the
the part, we
sidewalk."
don't know.
right, so
we're not
I
clear
live
on
on
that.
Second Street, I have a sidewalk in front of my house, and it's my sidewalk, I mean, and after that sidewalk, there's 4 feet of grass and then the road. You know, but it goes up, the street and.
And-
I think Kevin's point is he can jackhammer out your sidewalk and there's no law to stop you.
Well, same thing with, there's really no curb cut law either,
I mean, not that anybody could
I know,
find.
Kevin's given me
You can find
some
one, I
of the
don't
curb cut laws, and I've looked over it, and some of them, the city or the village or whatever will charge you to do a curb cut on your sidewalk, I mean, and how can you charge someone to cut their sidewalk when
Well,
it's their sidewalk?
if they're gonna put a driveway in, they have to
Right.
do something, they're gonna have to put,
there should be a way to require this in certain circumstances. Cause that's really what you're saying, in
I
certain
mean,
circumstances it should be
you're
necessary.
taking away a walkable community, all of a sudden somebody's walking down the street and well, the sidewalk's gone, I gotta go around, back in the road, I mean, it's not a good look for the village to.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, I'm on 22, so that's a different, it's obviously the state, but those.
I'm on Munsell Street, and that's how our sidewalks work. It's a mishmash going up the street. Just
But
for whatever reason.
imagine somebody who owns a house here on Main Street by the churches over here just decides one day to get up there with the jackhammer. I like grass and flowers, or I like a
Yeah.
mound of dirt in front of my house, and I'm just going to get rid of my sidewalk. I mean, there's gotta
Well,
be some.
Here again lies the thing, we're paying for all the sidewalks on Main Street to be done.
Yeah, but every time Dick and Harry's using those sidewalks, not
Yep.
for walking every day. It's not the homeowner that's benefiting for that sidewalk, it's.
Well, we need to definitely circle back with Elena on all this. There definitely needs to be a work.
We
with
need a
other
sidewalk
municipalities.
attorney is what we need.
That's what we need, a sidewalk attorney.
If you, it's pretty easy to find curb cut regulations, or almost every town has one.
I remember when we were doing the Snow Street project, and I remember seeing a list of all of the roads in the village. They're all different roads, or like you measure from the center of the road out to figure out where the village property is, and each road is different and unique, and it just blew my mind.
It's crazy, so
To
some
know
roads
that.
you have like an 8-foot right away, some of it's a 4-foot right away.
Yeah, so if I wanted to know where my property line was, I'd have to see what the line is on Munsell Street, find the middle, measure over, and that's.
But then we'd have to look up how many feet off the center of Munsell
Yep.
Street.
And you
Oh,
have to look
it's
at your survey.
wild.
Your
See
fence
how
is
this-
probably on my property.
Flips.
So, our friend Google says that generally speaking, even though sidewalks are owned by the municipality, most local codes require the abutting property owner to maintain the sidewalk, and then it also says cities typically own a right of way that includes not only the street itself, but also the land adjacent to the roadway. This usually includes sidewalks, and in some municipalities even extends some distance past the sidewalk. I just know where I grew up, they owned the street.
Yep.
That little, I think there's a name for that grassy knoll that runs in between the sidewalk and the street, and the sidewalk itself in the city's right of way or ownership or easement, whatever the term is, ended at the edge of the sidewalk.
We know
We had to
Elena's had to
maintain
deal with this with Niskuna, so we'll circle back with
Right.
Elena.
Are you working on a sidewalk across the street on Ball Street, across the street from me?
We are.
Dan, anything else?
No.
Alright, thank you, Dan. Deb?
Just a couple of things, I ran into, I don't know if anybody's spoken to her, Megan Albert, and she just got I think the last person she needs for the committee, the historical district committee or whatever it's called. And the person I think is an architect, or
Nice.
just something that is really gonna be good for the committee. So that's one, I just wanted to mention that we got those local laws more or less organized. We spent a day with
Oh,
that.
yes.
Um,
All the binders and of the local laws, that was, what a jump into the rabbit hole that was.
The ones we know of.
yeah, exactly, well, and going back to what, 1998 or something, 95?
No, 70s.
Oh, we went that far back?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we found some that were proposed, but were never actually
Right.
formally passed, we had to check minutes for that, and yet they were in the law binder.
Yeah.
Clarissa's jumping at the notion to
Oh, yeah.
organize the binders.
And I just wanted to say that the Fourth Ward playground that Kenny and his guys have done, great stuff, started working on it already, and hopefully next time I will have some more information about different playground companies and materials and things like that. I did tell some of the ladies who had worked on it originally and before, who had been bugging me, I did tell them we started working on it and they were very happy. You want me to wait for the Christmas decorations, or you want me to just do it?
Oh, it's fine, you can do it now, we've been jumping around.
I just wanted to bring it up because if we're gonna order more, we don't wanna wait too
To
long.
the rush hour.
Well, yeah, it takes a long time to
Right.
order the big commercial ones. So, all the stuff is stored, I'm not exactly sure, Aaron had, either put it in my shop's, storage or in Marianne's storage, so it's in a good place, easy to get to. Do we wanna talk about, I mean, we don't have to do this right now, who's putting what up, who's taking what down, so that there's no toes get stepped on.
I would love it, Deb, if you worked with Kenny and checked with Denise on what we have in the budget and came back to us with, here's what we should do.
Okay,
Does that sound good?
only if he's nice about my dog.
So Deb, are they,
I love your dog.
are they all,
Much better, much better.
Deb, if
He
you're
doesn't,
buying,
doesn't do anything.
cause it doesn't do anything.
If you're buying more,
She
are
took
you
the
gonna have
candy
to
back.
electrify more poles too?
Yeah. I guess we would, yeah. That's crazy expensive, I don't even know.
We
You know, so,
I know we promised people that we were gonna like expand down Church Street, expand down Main Street. I know that, the woodblock people would like some light down there. So,
it's just that, you know, Church Street where the blight is, it's so, when you come into the village on, especially in the wintertime, it looks so dull and all the lights are down at the other end.
Out by the corner of John.
Especially with the senior center moving out of town, there'll be more blight down there, more darkness, so maybe something down in that end.
Yep.
As you come into the village or the downtown.
all right, Kenny, we'll get together on that.
Sure.
Okay, we'll do it soon. Like, what's this week? Next week, tomorrow?
It's not even Thanksgiving.
I know, but it took a long time for them to come
There's
in
already
last
candy
year.
corn in the freaking stores, come on.
Yeah, there is, yeah, there is.
I know, it's crazy.
Alright, anything else, Deb?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the Stewart's situation. That they have already, Kevin, you probably know it more than I do. They've already made arrangements to buy a couple of properties, people are willing to sell. They wanna put this thing on Main Street, between Main Street and Church Street along Willard.
I don't think it's that far ahead yet. I think they've been talking to several property owners about buying those properties.
Yeah,
So
I know the lady in Redwell doesn't particularly wanna sell. She owns the house, so.
She hasn't heard any, I actually ran into her last week and talked with her for a while. And she said she hasn't heard anything for a while, so she hasn't decided whether she would sell anyway unless they offer some ridiculous amount of money, but,
Well, in any case, I think do you guys think it's a good idea? I think it's a good idea. Kevin thinks it's a good idea. If we approach these guys and say, let's be proactive and say, well, you know, you're looking. Let's talk, so we make sure it goes in a place that we want and a place that works for you.
or just say, we've had citizens in the community contacted by stewards about
I had one ask me today about it.
expanding or
In that same
buying
area?
property, and there's some concern in the community, we look forward to,
I know.
we look forward to, finding out more about what's happening and please keep us keep us under, you know.
I'd be glad to make a phone call if
And
someone wants to give me a
communication.
number.
Pretty sure this is the first I've even heard about it.
No, we've been,
We first found out about it because the lady who owns Red Road Books posted something on Facebook, the letter on Facebook she got from Stewart saying, did anybody else get this? And that's how
Okay,
it,
that's horrible. That location is horrible.
it'd be awful.
It'd be awful. Isn't that against zoning anyway?
Well, yeah, I mean, we gotta look into all this stuff, but what I'm saying is,
Well, it's not against zoning, it's conditional.
right, but my point is that we should do it and be proactive rather than waiting for
Yeah.
them to decide what they're gonna do, buy 20 houses and then, or 6 houses, whatever they're gonna do, 3 houses, and then we have to really fight with them when they already have an
They should
investment.
buy them Dollar Tree.
Yeah, put it out there.
Hey, there you go, Tim, give the guy a raise,
500-something thousand,
alright.
575.
plus 300,000 in sewer repairs.
Don't they like to be across from Cumberland Farms? Can't they?
Can't they
Usually
take
they are,
the-
if
Can't
there's
they
one
take-
that goes the other.
Where
Can't
the
they
senior
take the
center
county
is?
building and then fill in the space?
I have
There.
heard a
They
rumor.
are always
Wait,
on
I'm here.
corners.
Okay.
I'm
well,
not gonna
across
share it
from-
publicly, it's just a rumor mentioned to me about a possible location I'm looking into, which surprised me. I'm not gonna,
Oh, come
I'm
on.
not gonna blat it publicly.
Are we gonna-
So once you stop the recording, you can tell?
No, I'll just probably tell her in confidence later.
So I did hear that too, that there's another location somewhere else that they're.
Well, the land across from the county center used to be a gas station years ago on that corner.
So did the Stewart's now, where Stewart's is now, on 22.
Yeah, there used to be gas pumps there.
Yeah.
One.
Sally Levine's.
Alright.
Deb, you all done?
Yep.
Thank you, Deb. Bobby?
I don't have much, just wanted to thank Kenny again for anytime I call him, ask him to do something, that he's usually one step ahead of me and already got it done, or he's great about responding.
Did you pick on your dog?
No, I don't have one. My dog doesn't move. I do wanna ask about, the greenway. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's no motorized vehicles on the greenway, correct?
Correct.
Does that include electric bikes?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't think so.
because I almost got ran over tonight, literally, on the greenway at about 5:15. I was coming from the north end, I'd walked, parked by the laundromat and that way, and I was coming back, had my earbuds in, and going around all of a sudden, I'm walking and a four-wheeler comes flying around the corner, and he just locked it up. He stopped about here to Clarissa from me, and I screamed, well, and I did use an F-bomb, and I'm gonna tell you, and
There
I.
are signs at both ends of both.
And that's what, and ironically, when I was walking down the north, going down, I was going by Ferris Pond, I heard a four-wheeler, and I looked and he was coming up from by the sewage treatment plant, and he was on that side of the tracks, and so I screamed at the guy, and he locked him up, and he stopped, and he says, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't know you couldn't ride on here." I'm like, well, there's signs everywhere, I said, there's signs everywhere. He said, well, that's the guys told me down at Bistro 42, he had made it down that far. They told him he couldn't have the four-wheeler on there, and
Could?
Is this
they
a sign?
couldn't,
Oh.
couldn't.
There's a sign right there.
Right, he saw that sign, but he said, I didn't see any other signs at the other end, so that's, I was just asking, you know,
Yeah, there's people that ride down Waterworks Road as well, I've seen
Yep.
actually kids on both motorcycles and
yeah, cause they go right down the greenway, and they go right, instead of staying on the greenway, they go right down that path that goes down by the trestle by Lydell, or by Interface, the old
Yep.
Interface. But anyways, I just wanted to see if we do have signs, so I thought there was no motorized vehicles on
That's
there,
true.
but,
A couple months ago, there was a couple of kids who were chased away by our police guys. They had a lawnmower that they took the deck off of, and they were riding that back and forth.
No, not even that, I mean, we use it to go down to the sewer plant, you know, with our mower, mow the sewer plant, stuff like that. I drive down it once a day to make sure there's no trees, branches
Sure.
down, with, you know, with the village truck with the flashing lights on, you know. Yeah, there's no four-wheelers, dirt bikes.
yeah, no, that's no question about that, I just wanted to make sure, cause it scared the hell out of me, I mean, like I said, couldn't even hear, cause I had my earbuds on, and just looked up, and he was like here to Judy away from me, and he just locked them up, cause I was coming down the hills.
You may wanna say something about electric bikes, because they can go up to 20 miles an hour in this thing.
It's funny you say that, Doug, cause right after that, Doug, I was farther down the greenway, and I heard someone say, I turned my earbuds down, and I heard someone on your left, and it was Brian Gardner flying by on his electric bike.
Probably Craig, but it was Brian.
It was Brian, yeah.
More of a cruise.
Yeah.
Anything else, Bobby?
No, that's all I had.
Bobby, every meeting we should have updates about your walks on the green. Highlights.
Eventful tonight.
Alright, awesome. Okay, thank you. We are moving on to old business. We've already started to make a list of ARPA quotes that we need to track down, so that we can look to act in September. Is there anything else we wanted to decide or act on with this? There's some confusion now with Channing Library and things going on there, so
We'll table that.
we'll table that.
Yes.
Anything else we wanna discuss about that, or can we move on?
Move on.
No, I think we should move on.
Alright. New business number 1. Okay. So I have on the agenda a resolution authorizing the payments of invoices through a third-party funded escrow account pertaining to the development of new water supply wells and associated infrastructure for the village. Simply put, this is something we're gonna be doing regularly, and I put the language on the agenda, and I'm gonna keep the language consistent that explains what this is and why it is and how we're not paying for this, and how it's the escrow account.
we did this already.
It's gonna be new ones every month or two, so that's just a new one.
Cause we're just coming out of that balance of the 80,000 escrow, right? That's what's in the escrow is 80 grand,
Yes.
and these invoices are gonna be paid against it.
You need a motion?
I have a resolution and I need to find it, that is not it. As soon as I find it, we will, here it is.
Isn't it? I'll let
I
Rebecca
can
know.
skip all the whereas statements. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls in regular session duly convened as follows, that this Board of Trustees does hereby authorize the payment of invoices from Sterling Environmental Engineering PC in the amount of $2,485 and Gilchrist Tingley PC in the amount of $1,380 to be paid from the escrow account funded by St. Cobain Honeywell as provided for in the agreement authorized by the parties and approved by this village board of trustees. Oh, I forgot to change that. On the resolution, can you change that date to August 16th, 2023, please? We'll make sure that's on the official agenda. So my apologies on missing that in the resolution. You know what, we gotta change the one in the first whereas paragraph as well, we missed that.
Yep.
I'll tell Dave he's slipping down on his resolution creating duties.
Oh,
So I need someone to offer this resolution and second it. Who would like to offer it? Thank you, Doug,
second?
and second Bobby Ryan. You guys have all the documents and stuff in there for the backing. Any further discussion on this? Alright, roll call vote please.
Alright, trustee Shuddig,
Yay.
trustee O'Malley,
Yes,
trustee Alter,
Yes?
trustee Decker is not here, and trustee Sauer,
Yes.
okay, and, deputy mayor Ryan,
Yes.
and mayor Allen.
I'm a yes. Please scan that tomorrow and send that to Dave, please.
Yep.
Awesome,
Yeah,
so that has
thank you.
passed, thank you guys.
Dave who?
Engel,
Engel,
E-N-G-E-L. And I have his email if you don't have
okay,
it.
cool.
Alright, the second thing is another one of those things that we had to do retroactively. So we got approval for this via email from the board. But we had someone come to us to look for doing the cannabis growing showcase on an event on August 26th, and of course it's New York State, so you know there's a department that oversees this and policies that oversee this and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is I'm looking for motion to authorize the mayor to sign and send a letter to the New York State Office of Cannabis Management in support of Loving Buds LLC for a cannabis growers showcase on August 26th in Wood Park, as per the Cannabis Growers Showcase Guidance Policy, and this will be retroactive to August 10th, 2023, which was the deadline for the letter.
What does the roll come to?
What was the name of that company again?
Loving Buds,
It's just my hearing wasn't, so I
I'll second it. Doug,
Okay.
Doug made the
Buds,
motion.
Loving Buds, who?
Doug made the motion,
Doug
I
and
second.
Bobby. Further discussion?
Yeah,
so the application was received, Jenny got a message the other day saying, we need you to answer a question, how are you gonna keep 17-year-olds from buying your product? And I said,
Check ID.
well, either they can buy it from
That's
a
it, that's on them.
they can buy it from a regulated company, or they can buy it from the drug dealer down the street.
right,
New York
It's just-
State.
It's so stupid the way they've handled
So,
this whole
I mean, what,
situation.
it's no different than buying alcohol, you have to show your ID, right? I mean,
What if it was a wine
That's
tasting
invisible
festival?
to do that.
Right.
Yes,
But,
What if it was a
but New
wine
York State
tasting
needs to
festival?
dictate that
Yes,
as a
need
law.
that.
Yeah.
A wine, yeah, we should, that's not
We should
bad.
have that, that's a great.
Alright, all in favor of the motion? Aye.
aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries, thank you. We already did this one, in the mayor updates, this was the retroactive thing for the landfill leachate work. I have a resolution authorizing the sale of certain village surplus village equipment. That one I do have. Thank you, Kenny, for last minute details on getting all this.
Certainly.
So we have a resolution authorizing the sale of certain surplus village equipment, whereas the superintendent of water, I meant to change that, I changed that in the original and I forgot to do that.
where?
You're now the superintendent of water and sewer, congratulations.
No, I can do it all, it doesn't matter.
Can you just make a note for the record, it's the DPW superintendent, and just change those each time the resolution happens? It's in
Where
the
is it?
first whereas it says the superintendent of water.
Highway, sewer,
Okay.
all of the above.
That's a town thing, he's the DPW superintendent, so just change those to DPW
In the second one
superintendent.
too.
Has advised there is surplus equipment no longer used or needed by the village, and whereas the DPW superintendent recommended such equipment be offered for sale to public auction. Now therefore be it resolved by the board of trustees of the village of Hoosick Falls, regular session between as follows. One, that this village board of trustees does hereby authorize the DPW superintendent to sell through public auction, including internet-based online auctions, the equipment as shown below, no longer needed by the village. There's 3 surplus items that we have. We have the excavator that we have discussed, and we do want that to go out through auction, you'll have the ability to do this now. The other 2 are the old police vehicles, the Chevy Tahoe and the Ford Explorer, certain numbers are up there, that have been sitting collecting dust, and we just don't want them. We don't expect you to auction those, but this gives you the authority to do what you need to, scrap or whatever, but check with Tim on getting stuff out of there before it
We will.
is.
Okay.
So I need someone to offer this resolution and second it.
Do we have a minimum bid on the excavators?
Took the words out of my mouth, Kevin, I was just asking.
That's
We
probably, for how much we paid for it.
Well, we know how much we paid for it, so when we put the bid out there, we can review the bid with Elena and we can add a minimum bid on it. I don't see why not. It just depends on
Yeah,
how
you can
we
put-
approach
You
it.
can put a reserve on it, like any kind of auction.
Yeah, cause I think we paid 143 on it and it had 250 hours.
Yeah, something
And we estimated about another 100 hours have gone into it.
probably, yeah.
So, I mean, we have all those details down, so I think we can. But we should.
Is that high hourage?
No.
It's not bad.
I would,
No.
Well, can we all, this is a dumb question, everybody's gonna be pissed. Can we dictate what that money goes to, that we sell the excavator for?
I mean, the board has to make that decision, but I think we all know that you have some significant needs for equipment there.
It could be restricted to purposes.
it should, it definitely should be,
Yeah, sure. Wine festival, we do a wine festival?
it should be earmarked
It's an
for,
economic
for a new highway truck.
Yeah, for a dump truck.
That will be a later board decision,
But it-
but I
that's-
think we all know that we have
I
a.
just hate to get it, sell it, and then say, oh geez, we could use it for
It
this.
won't be until 2025 though.
Probably not.
No, not even, Kevin.
At least-
No, worse,
At least we're being proactive.
it's worse than that now.
Is it
Seriously.
really?
Yes, it's like, yeah, I talked to
Is it like a Flintstone truck?
Jeff Delory at Allegiant, and he told me that if, he can't even take any they're done taking orders for this year.
Yeah.
And so he can take no more orders, and the delivery is, this is like in July, delivery was like October of 25 was the first delivery.
So I'm all about, shopping local, Allegiant isn't local anymore.
No, right, I'm not
We
saying,
can,
right.
I've looked into it, there's, we don't have to buy international trucks,
Okay.
I can get them, before 2025, I've already looked into it.
Okay, but I'm just saying, that's what, that's what,
Yeah.
for an international, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
And they're a small, they're a small dealership up there, they get, maybe a couple trucks a year they sell out of there now. I think, I know
Yeah.
Allegiant is a big,
Right.
a world,
There's
they
40,
have
they own
airlines, they sell
41
food.
international dealerships, yeah.
Yeah, they own an airline, they sell food, they're just huge, Allegiant's huge.
Just since we're
Oh,
talking
is it
about
Allegiant Airlines?
supply chain
no.
stuff,
Oh.
I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the water source and Honeywell. They actually have already estimated 2 things where they saw supply chain order possibilities and already ordered the stuff for that. And they had to find land to store things on while that happened, and they've already done that. The other thing is that they were looking at the possibility of what they would do for like a small building facility where the wells are, and they're going prefab.
Mhm.
Which was like, that's what we did with our sewer project, and that's
Yeah.
perfect, and
The water plant.
they've already moved forward on that, and they're working around, I forgot to mention that when it came up. Anyway, back to this, I need someone to offer the resolution and second it.
I move.
Thank you, Doug.
Second.
Thank you, Deb, for seconding. Any further discussion? Roll call vote,
Okay, trustee Shuddig,
Yay.
okay.
which one?
Trustee
Yes.
O'Malley,
Yes.
trustee Alter,
Yep.
I think probably 100.
trustee Decker is absent, trustee Sauer,
Yes.
deputy mayor Ryan,
Yes.
and mayor Allen.
Yes.
Perfect.
Alright, we have already done the holiday decorations, we've already scheduled a special meeting, and we've already scheduled a public hearing. By the way, please work with Elena and Mark on getting that notice put together for that, so that we can post that in the building and on the website, the notice for the public hearing.
Okay, yep.
Cause that will be a priority thing to notice. Anything else for the board? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters with no business to be conducted at the conclusion of executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Doug
Second.
and Deb. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? We are officially moving into executive session at 8:27 PM. Thank you all.